Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Grateful and want to say thank you to the Husker volleyball community and just the whole state of Nebraska, because if you've ever heard of Nebraska volleyball, you know that the fans are pretty crazy, but they're amazing, and their support also was just so incredible to have.
Lifted deep to right field, back at the wall. That one is gone. Will McLean with a solo shot, and Creighton retakes the lead 3-2. Runner goes. Swing and a miss from Silva. Throw down the second is wide. Runner coming home, and they got him.
So it's been real fun just to be back out on the field. New group of guys, a lot of new faces, a lot of, old faces coming back. So just, learning how we're going to play together this year and gel both sides of the ball as a team has been great. And then the 8 weeks of winter, again, they went by real fast, but they're real fun. I think we learned how to come together as a team. We had some adversities and the things we were doing here, the workouts, different stuff like that, but it was a lot of fun.
I think I have a clearer picture of schematically what we're going to be able to do, of our personnel, obviously, considering, I knew the majority of the roster, but a lot of those guys have still gotten better. I think our offense has continued to get better. So then you measure it on their improvement versus our improvement, and where we are relative to where we need to be. So from a schematic standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, it's the picture just getting clear. And then obviously we just got to keep emphasizing the execution, the effort, finishing plays, those types of things. Because that ultimately is the identity of your unit, is going to be how hard they play, how well they execute, how fast and physical they are, and are we making plays when the money's on the line in the fourth quarter or on third down or in the red zone?
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. What's up, DB? How we doing?
Kenny?
I don't know what that means.
Levante?
What's that? You just doing bow on me? Taylor?
No, I was just buying myself some time with us.
You didn't know what you were today?
I'm good.
Yeah?
It's my mom's birthday, so.
Happy birthday, Mama D.
Yeah. She is up and at 'em already.
Yeah?
Yeah, she knows my style, so she asked me. It caught me off guard. She's like, "What are you listening to?" I felt like she was in my vehicle.
Yeah.
I'm like, "At this moment?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "Nothing, just the radio." I didn't want to type in Canny and Michelle.
Yeah. Unsportsmanlike.
Yeah.
Well.
And she said, "Oh, well, sometimes I know you just sit there, you drive around, and you listen to music." I was like, "Wow, I do."
Just calling you out, huh?
You do listen. You do listen. You do know your son.
Oh,
No,
my goodness.
but I told her not today.
No.
No, today I was waiting for I'm over it.
Oh, yeah?
And I
Did you miss it?
I got impatient because I'm still wondering why Shane is parking so far away from the door. So I was momentarily distracted.
Yeah, Shane, could you shed some light on what's happening over there? It's 2 days
Are
in a row.
you kidding me?
Exactly.
You really want to know? You really want? I don't want to park where the chicken wings are at, because they're still out there, and I really don't want to drive over the bones.
What do you think's going to happen if you drive over the bones?
I just want to know if he's being serious.
I am being serious. I have my sister.
Oh boy.
She drove over
Oh,
the
boy.
little topper thing that sits in the middle of a pizza box. She drove over one of those and popped the tire. Okay.
You talking about the little plastic 3-prong thing?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. If that pops your tire, it's probably time to get new tires.
Hey, I don't know about that, Ravi.
I'm just saying.
I'm not questioning what she does.
Little plastic thing.
So I'm just saying I don't want to drive over the damn bones.
This dude
That thing barely keeps the cardboard box up.
That thing is, you are wild. So you parked.
I did.
Clear over yonder.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to drive over some discarded chicken bones?
There's a bunch out there, and they just happen to be where I park.
Bless your heart, man.
You know, there's like a lot of other spots between the chicken
There is.
spot and
I took one.
I
took one. It's way over there.
Why way over there?
Why not?
There's just a lot of other places closer you could park.
Oh, Shane. You're a
Like,
funny dude.
When our lovely patron of Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill parked in my spot, I just parked a couple over instead of on the other side of the parking lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm not ripping on you if you're throwing chicken bones out the window or anything like that. I mean, do your thing, I guess. But, maybe choose a different parking spot to do it in.
I'm guessing they dropped a to-go box. I'm guessing they
were all...
No, because they didn't have any meat on them, right, Shane?
Yeah, they didn't have... There was a lot of them.
There's animals, right?
And there's a lot of birds flying around out there. Just happen to be in my
appreciate your sarcasm.
Spot.
I'm just saying, I don't know that. Like, what do you think is more likely? What do you think is more likely?
That Shane's
no.
tire would be popped by a random chicken bone?
That seems unlikely, but
wouldn't be the first.
Well, I'd be pissed if it happened.
I'm just saying, what do you think is more likely? That there was some dude in the parking lot, or lady, could be either. Dude is gender neutral, just eating chicken and throwing them out the window for God knows why, outside the restaurant where they could just eat the bones inside the restaurant, right? Or that they dropped a to-go container and then the meat has since been picked clean by the variety of wild animals that are out here.
Well, I did see some tater tots out here the other day, so your theory is plausible.
I think people drop their to-go container sometimes.
I think your theory is plausible.
I'm just saying. That seems more like...
But you know why I don't like it?
Why is that? Because I said it?
Well, for starters.
Because they had one strike.
No. So here's my thing.
Okay. I'm listening. I'm open to possibilities, DB.
If this is just the detective in me.
Okay.
I would imagine whatever is picking the meat off the bone. Kind of like when I listen to you, I try to eat the meat and spit out the bones.
Sure, yeah, because there's a lot of garbage in there.
No, see? Wow, a lot of self-deprecation today. That's what we're on. I would imagine whatever's eating it would have taken the bone with them. Hard pressed to have consume something so small and pick at it that long without the bones leaving the area.
To be fair, I'd have to go look at the bone situation.
Does that make sense to you?
No, I get what you're saying.
That's very deep. I'm a deep thinker.
But think about what you just said also. Eat the meat, spit out the bones. Maybe they literally spit out the bones.
Yeah, I would just imagine it would take a bird quite a bit of time to peck off a whole...
There's other wildlife around here.
And Shane, I apologize. It would not be the first time that a bone has poked through rubber. So I'm not going to act like you couldn't have a...
Tires are expensive.
Not as expensive as some of the other alternatives.
Yeah, especially when they get to be about 18.
I thought this was when they stopped being expensive.
Shoot.
Well,
Mine just left Tuesday. I beg to differ. Yeah, I probably could have gone without saying that.
No, it's fine.
Tourette's kicked in.
It's contagious.
That is very, I can't. So this is somebody that, Shane, I get it, right? You do park 34 feet away from the curb because you don't want the bottom of your car scraped.
That is correct.
So I get it. You're just, is it thorough? Like, what's the word? Paranoid? Overly cautious?
Overly
I
cautious.
think paranoid's closer than thorough.
You just not having it.
No, I think thorough's a different thing. Thorough would be if
he's covering all his bases.
No, he's covering all his bases, and then he's going ahead and going even further than that. That's not thorough. That's paranoid.
All right, Shane, you're all right with
Thorough's like if he picked up the bones and then also sprayed the space down and all that's thorough.
And then again,
I know. Hi, Art. Shane, your brother's a Lightning fan, right?
That is correct.
So is he excited for the Panthers in Tampa Bay?
I haven't asked him.
Man, that's going to be sensational.
That will be sensational, yes.
It's no Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, they got toughy, though. They can score, though. But I do believe that the Lightning are the highest scoring team in the NHL. I saw an amazing stat, Shane. Your brother would probably know this. That Brandon Hagel has 35 goals.
Yeah.
That's a fair amount, even in today's hockey where they score quite a bit. Do you know how many goals, Shane, he has on the power play?
Out of 35?
Yeah.
Does he have I'm just going to guess at least half.
Well, how many goals do you think?
The way you're asking it makes me think low.
Of the 35.
Yeah.
He plays on the power play unit 90% of the time. How many goals?
Well, now you're making me think it's high.
How many goals do you think Hagel has via the power play?
21.
And I'll give it, and I'll give you a record, or I'll give you a clue. It's an NHL record.
10, 11, 12.
32.
0. Absolutely no goals scored on the power play. It is the most goals scored in the NHL without a goal coming via the power play.
That's crazy. So I was right the first time that it was low.
Yeah.
You're playing mind games on me.
Yeah, these two teams don't like each other either. It's going to be sensational. And Florida didn't play anybody last night, so
that's one of the nice things about hockey is when you have teams that don't like each other, they really don't like each other.
Oh yeah, that's the beauty of the sport, which gets started on Saturday, baby.
Saturday, we're gonna talk to Eddie.
Yeah,
Garcia tomorrow.
Yeah, one of the greatest voices in radio on sports. And I brought your two guys back today. I wanted you to be healthy. This is a first time appearance for one.
Wardell, Steph
Curry, who didn't play worth a damn last night, but they got the dub.
Who, Wardell or the Warriors in general?
Well, Steph was fine.
Yeah.
Golden State was just okay.
Yeah, I wasn't thrilled with the performance. I thought it was kind of poor.
And the Skillet Master, John Butler, who, by the way, is trying
to inject a little humor here.
Well, he's getting so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
Like the
from
JB,
this year to last year.
The JB yesterday and that I've been seeing in the offseason to JB last year, he's comfortable.
He looked a little uneasy last year.
Yeah.
Wasn't really sure.
That's why like Sunday morning? Or
no, that's
uneasy.
Uneasy.
Is there a song called Uneasy?
I don't think so. Uneasy.
There's a song called Unsteady.
That's what I was thinking.
And I'm a little unsteady.
One Republic?
No. Heck no.
No, that's Ex Ambassadors.
Thank you.
Ex Ambassadors.
One Republic.
That's.
You've been on One Republic lately. I said one song a couple weeks ago, and you nailed One Republic. Yeah. One Republic. And now you just One Republic in this thing?
They all sound the same.
Shane, I wanted to say something. So your Avs are at home chilling. They're resting. They have home ice. I wanted to say something nice
about the Avs?
Because I feel like
that my teams are never good.
I know you have a problem with your paranoia, and I don't want you to feel bad to start the show that you park 36 spots away from where you normally park because of some chicken bones.
Maybe I'm turning over a new leaf, and that's going to be my new parking spot.
Just don't
a new maple leaf.
Be better than Marner in the postseason. Just do that if you're going to be a Leaf, okay? Not that I have anything against Toronto.
Wow, hater.
No, Toronto's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like Toronto, don't you?
Yeah. Beautiful city.
Sounds like a place to hang out.
Very, very expensive, but a beautiful city.
Yeah, cost of living is rough there.
Yeah, well, you have provincial tax plus sales tax.
Yeah.
And the GST. It ramps up in a hurry.
Gotta watch out for that GST.
Hey, man, I don't appreciate the jokes. Okay? We all flub up every now and again.
I don't know what GST is. The joke was on me. I don't know what GST is.
It's like a provincial tax.
Okay.
It's their sales tax.
All right.
Yeah, it's why they have allegedly free health care, which isn't free. You need 85 pieces of paper to go get an x-ray.
Hey.
They make HMOs look like walks in the park. And don't. Yeah, just HMOs. Let's leave it at that.
Help a mother out?
John Q, man. John Q.
Oh, I thought you were doing your HBO Help a Brother Out.
Nah, I don't need the bat signal right now. I'm cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes.
I mean, give it a couple hours. It's subject to change. The phone could ring at any
given time.
Yes. It will be who is it? The Pets the phone?
Oh, the Wonder Pets?
Yes. Could be the Wonder Pets.
Man, that was one of my least favorite.
Caleb used to rock with the Wonder Pets.
It's the lisps that drove me crazy. They all had like lisps.
Wow, Ravi here for anti-special ed.
No, that's not what it is. Just like go see the speech therapist and then come see me.
Wow. All right.
No, it was a combination of like their like particular tone of voice because it's kind of like a whiny baby toddler voice, and then the lisp. I was like, we're doing.
Was your favorite the duck?
We're doing
you
a lot.
You probably
here.
like the little hamster.
No, I didn't like I don't like any of them.
Wow.
There's an animal in trouble. Hated that.
Did you sleep well last night?
Not really.
Yeah, you got a little crabbiness to you. I said, hey, this was before you even came on there. I said, hey, got your guy, man. Yeah, not too.
Wasn't
Not
thrilled
too
with how they
happy.
looked last
Not
night.
too happy about that performance.
I wasn't.
You were wetting the bed pregame, and you got a dub, and you're mad.
I'm not mad. I'm just not thrilled about how that projects moving forward. Houston can offer a lot of the same
It's
problems.
a tough team to figure out, my guy.
Houston can offer a lot of the same problems that.
Do you want to
Memphis
answer?
did.
Do you want to answer a managerial question?
Sure.
A GM Stephen Kerr question.
Well, it's Steve Kerr's not the GM, but that's okay.
Well, he acts like it, so I'm gonna ask this question. Why in all these trade talks that you floated for the last year and a half was Kuminga so protected as a commodity, and then you don't play him?
Well, so in my fake GM trades, Kuminga was in all of them. I was trying to ship his ass out of town every day that ends in Y.
Certainly, Ravi's a funny Ravi.
So I was
Keep watering the bamboo.
I was having this discussion a little bit yesterday while the game's going on with my guy Jake, because I'm not allowed to say my buddy anymore. My guy Jake, also a Warriors fan.
Well, how come they just can't be their name?
Because nobody knows who that is.
Okay.
I gotta give some frame of reference.
All right.
Like, is it Jake from State Farm? Like, who are we talking about here?
I am not mad at you.
Is it Jake Peralta from Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my guy Jake asked me this. He goes, "Hey, like, is Kuminga hurt? You know, because he got benched in the end of the regular season, didn't play at all yesterday."
Mm-hmm.
And my answer to him was, I think there is a pretty clear. This is the weird thing about this Warriors team. For a lot of this run, so you want to go all the way back to like 16-ish.
Yes.
The GM front office has sort of wanted to stake claim for a lot of what's happened.
Yeah. Well, you're the best GM you had is now. Well, used to be on set. He's quietly kind of disappeared.
Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Where's Bob?
He's out making moves.
Did Bob make Steven mad?
So I don't know, but that's the
Bob Myers, who we're talking about for all you
the Steve Kerr and front office dynamic is really interesting, right? Because I think going all the way back to Bob Meyer and like Joe Lacob back in 2016, 2017, all the way through now with you got Dunleavy and whatever else. The front office has wanted to stake claim and kind of stake their piece of this dynasty.
Yeah.
Because first you had, we're light years ahead of everybody else, which wasn't the case. And then you have, we're trying to build two cores simultaneously, which blew up in their face because ironically, the best player that's out there now is Moses Moody, who was not anybody cared about at the time. And then now you kind of have this battle over what Kuminga is. Like the front office has kind of wanted to stake claim. The problem is Steve Kerr is totally unfireable. Like he would have to commit a felony to be fireable in Golden State.
Do you drink Poppy?
No, I don't.
Poppy has some amazing flavors.
I was confused because this is a leg shaving commercial and you pointed and then you said, "Do you?" And I was like, I don't know where this is going.
Well, you stay on delay.
I looked. It was.
I think it
Instacart.
happens in my house intentionally. Sometimes I'll say, "Hey, look at that."
Yeah.
And people
I whip my head over
who shall remain nameless take forever to look. And then by the time they look, it's gone.
I mean, you only really have three options. It's Micah, Zoe, or Jay. Those are the three options.
Listen, they shall remain.
I'm just saying.
I'm an equal opportunity offender. It could be any of the above.
Probably all of them, to be honest.
This is like, "Hi, Boppy. I did not know you could do it like that."
Wait, so you can go into character, but I can't go into character?
Oh, that's right. Okay, that was not good. I apologize. Anybody can use the term Poppy. I was talking about the soda.
The soda. Yeah.
I was not going into
Big Poppy.
Not gonna say it.
Like David Ortiz? You know?
Yeah, I get it.
He was from the Dominican.
I was gonna go into a bit.
He's from the Dominican. I don't know if you know it. Spanish speaking people.
Can you have like
what's up?
A dialect neutral bit?
It's hard. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's challenging. We have a lot of leeway since neither of us are white. We get
wait.
White, you know. We get a little grace. Especially me, because I'm like ambiguous.
You're not Wyatt?
Yes, I'm not. Well, I am Asian, but I'm not Wyatt.
Time out. He's not what?
Wyatt. Asian Wyatt.
When I said white, he heard Wyatt.
He's still traumatized over rolling over the chicken bones.
He did not roll over the chicken bones. That's why he parked in the North 40.
Do you really think a bone could go through your tires, though, Shane?
What was you were going to start a story about a bone going through some rubber.
No.
and you never finished it. What's your story?
Shane, that might be the funniest thing you've ever said on air.
And it's going to get me to be quiet.
That was incredible. The clap back there was unreal, Shane.
Touche.
Zero delay.
I'm good.
Perfect callback. My God, Shane.
Ravi, the baton is yours.
Hold on. I'm well done, Shane. I'm wow. I'm stunned. Like, whew. That's incredible timing.
Boy, just stopped me dead in my tracks. No fun when the rabbit's got the gun. I want to be the one dictating the combo. Don't be putting that back on me.
That was pretty funny.
Okay, let's move on.
Coming up on the show today, we got Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7.
Wasn't that funny?
It was pretty damn good. We'll talk to Kevin Sjuts, 1011 News.
Apparently JG liked it.
In Lincoln.
Is that funny, guys?
At some point here,
What?
I don't know if it's going to be today. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow. It may be in July sometime. We're going to return to our actor conversation.
Yeah, that thing kept going yesterday.
Because there is a whole other category we didn't get to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's these B-list / character actors, which are two different things, but they are different than the guys we were talking about yesterday.
I would need a little clarity, but I have one right off the rip.
Who's that?
For a B-lister?
Well, you tell me what it is, who it is, and I'll tell you what they are.
I am a huge and go ahead. I just go all in. I'm a big Jason Statham guy.
B-lister.
Okay.
Leading man of like B movies.
I like him.
Yeah.
I get the whole typecast thing.
No, he's very good at what he does, and it's entertaining.
The Meg 2 sucked donkey balls, but it was
You have really strong feelings about Meg 2. I didn't really see that coming. Like, of all the Jason Statham movies, you were like,
so
yeah.
That was the one I was probably the most disappointed.
You're like,
in.
man, Meg 2 really let me down. I had high hopes for Meg 2.
I have a thing for sharks.
How was Meg 1? Was good?
The Meg.
The Megalodon.
No,
just the Meg.
Yes.
You're right. My bad.
The Meg was fine.
It was okay.
Yes.
But Meg 2, you were like,
it was a little, I get it. Like a real life Meg isn't hokey. Meg 2 is a little hokier. Okay, go ahead.
Did it jump the shark? I'm sorry, I had to.
Leave the jokes to Shane this morning. That was awful. Can I? I'm gonna do it anyway.
I got to. I don't know.
So special. Get under my skin. Can't believe I rooted your Warriors on to victory.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, we too easy, breezy
winners yesterday.
Lock 'em ups. We'll just keep the string going today.
Yeah, you had the Magic killing that -5.5. They're up 20 with like 4 minutes left. I text
4:24,
and I text you. I go Magic, and you go wait.
Yeah, needs to be about 20 seconds left.
It's the NBA. Wait. And I was like, fair enough. And then you just text me Rangers. 4-0, easy winner.
How about? Although it was zeros through 6.
It was deep. Yeah, it got a little deep on you.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing about, like, is Trae Young good at basketball?
I have very complicated feelings about Trae Young, and by complicated I mean I don't like him.
How don't they win? They should win more.
No, he's not a winning basketball player. He might be good at basketball. He's not a winning basketball player.
Did you see the ejection?
Yes, I did.
He like pump faked the official.
Yeah, he did.
And then he rolled the ball out of bounds.
He did that thing you learn when you're like 8th grade, where you like act like you're gonna pass it and bring it back and dribble it, like the like fake pass thing. And he was like so proud
he's
of
a
himself.
child.
Yeah, he's an infant.
How much will that cost him?
Oh, 100.
God, that seems steep.
Well, I'm trying to think.
Those officials are going to be pissed, though.
Well, no.
Shane, you have that Draymond Green clip while Robbie's thinking? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so Ja was getting 75 for the weapons stuff, but that wasn't at an official. I feel like they cracked down on stuff at officials a little harder.
Yeah, like that was.
I think it might be 100.
That was extremely job.
Yeah, he was just mad they were losing. He's like, I'm taking my ball going home. Literally, he was like, I'm taking my ball going home.
Is it just me, or does Banchero now officially look like an NFL rush in?
I was gonna say tight end, but yeah, one of the two.
He is a thicklet.
He's a big dude. He was always pretty thick, but he's sort of it looks better now. Like he's conditioned himself a little better now.
The dude is nice.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
So I kind of wanted to get back into this, and we can talk about this when we get back to talk about Coach Butler. But I was hoping yesterday didn't come across as a little, Gouda, Fremunda, Swiss.
Cheesy.
I didn't want it to be cheesy because I'm talking about what I think Nebraska's got to do culturally to get over the hump, because it's not really a talent issue. And even if to some degree you feel like it did, it is. Michael Severe. Well, if they had better players, I get it. All right. But even if you feel like they need to get better players, the roster's pretty good.
It's good enough to be better than they've been.
It's good enough to be better than what you just said. I don't want to. Did you feel like there was a parrot in here? What he said. What he said. Is that pretty good, bird?
Yeah, that's not bad.
I hate birds.
I'm not a big bird guy.
I hate birds.
Yeah.
I'm out. But anyway, like Draymond Green said something as a championship multi-time winner yesterday that I felt like should have got your attention.
It did. Yeah.
He's a pro's pro. He's borderline certifiable at times.
Not borderline. He's all the way. Full send.
But he may be crazy like a fox.
So I struggle with Draymond a little bit.
I know. I get it.
For as important as he's been to the franchise and to getting Steph where I wanted Steph to be, I struggle with him a lot because there's part of me that's just like, hey, quit acting like a crazy person.
So you know who that is for me?
Who?
And I know him as a person.
Yeah.
So your Draymond is my Ryan Clark.
Okay.
Ryan Clark drives me up the wall 45% of the time.
Yeah.
But 55% of the time, I'm like,
that dude's amazing.
That dude is amazing.
Yeah.
But he says some ridiculous things sometimes. Although he said something that I've been saying since the whole Travis Hunter thing yesterday that I want to get to too.
Yeah.
But Draymond Green said this. Shane, I want to listen. Let's see what Crazy Dude said that I think as it relates to Nebraska and what Coach Butler said yesterday.
But I want to mention something that I saw today that no one will give a shit about. Sorry. Trey Jackson Davis did something on the bench today. He didn't play in the game. There was no seats left on the bench. Quentin Post said, Trace, can I get that seat? And Trace just got up. And a part of me was baffled that he got up for the rookie, because the rookie, if there's no seat, you sit on the floor. He just got up and gave him the seat. And I walked over to him and I said, that's one of the most selfless things I've ever seen a teammate do, because 99% of the time, you're going to be like, you can go sit on the floor, Rick, or go find a seat somewhere else. But he knew he wasn't part of the rotation. And yet the rookie was. They're playing the same position. And he got up and just went, he literally got up and went and stood in the tunnel because there were no seats. And so I just wanted to put that out there, because that, to me, like, that's why you win games.
That's a championship caliber guy, right?
Yep.
Talking about the little things.
Yeah, he's done it a lot.
It's not cheesy.
No, it matters.
It's not hokey. And all things being equal, a lot of times it's that kind of stuff that permeates in your culture that can be the difference.
Yeah, and we could talk about this more. We could take a little break here, but there is I think the closer the talent gets in terms of the competition,
the more you need that
the
stuff.
more that matters.
I'm with you.
Because in the NBA, the talent's not that different.
No, I know.
Especially amongst contenders.
Yeah. So it's like you look at some teams' rosters, how aren't the Raptors better?
Yeah. The Raptors have a good roster. Yeah. I think about that with the Pelicans, who fired David Griffin. We talked about it yesterday. That's not a bad roster.
I know.
Like, same thing with the NFL. The NFL, it's razor thin margins, right? We look at like the Raiders and we're like,
yeah, Jacksonville should be better.
Absolutely, they should.
Yeah.
But when the margins get thin, it's stuff like this that can make the difference. We'll talk about it more as it relates to Nebraska coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Live.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
And how special is it for you to be back in Nebraska and just be a part of this Cornhusker program again?
I can't even tell you. I had no idea what I was really getting into. I'd never met Coach Rulla before. And coming back here, I'm just so thankful and just I prayed a lot about it, and all my prayers have been answered so far, and I cannot wait for next season.
Yeah, so what were your initial conversations with Rulla to get you back over to Nebraska?
Well, it started off with Will Compton. When Coach made the change, literally Will Compton called me like 30 seconds later and said, "Heck, you need to go home, man. You need to go back." He goes, "What do you do it?" And I said, I'd think about it. So he said, "I'm calling Coach Rulla." So that's how it kind of started. So Will Compton it's ironic because he was the first player I ever recruited as a full-time coach when I was here at Nebraska. And so it kind of came back full circle.
The Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball story is a story of growth and success. After getting to visit the team this fall and watching practice and talking with Coach G, I am confident in this team this year.
The best you is really dang good. I mean, it's really good, okay? So just be that. No more, no less.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball are built for big moments.
Brace yourself.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
I'm going to start off by saying I know the last time I was up here, there was a lot of social media commentary about my my hairstyle, the skullet, as we call it. So I'm not ashamed to rock the skullet. In the future, I'm going to keep this hat on, so keep you guys entertained in the media. So anyway, you can shake your head. I just want to attempt at a little laughter.
I don't need your head shake.
I don't even.
I don't need you to tell me that's not funny. Okay,
it is funny. I laughed in real time.
No, you didn't. Flipping
Not
Tim Johnson
here. I mean, when I heard it the first time.
Oh, it wasn't funny again.
Well, you know, I knew what the punchline was coming. So
yeah.
That's DPM Ravi Lulla. Hurrdat Sports
Sometimes
Live.
you just got to go along to get along, Ravi.
Oh,
keep it moving.
You know that's not my forte.
No, Lord knows you ain't kidding.
I'm gonna go ahead and slam on the brakes and be like, wait a second.
Yep, Mr. Standoffish.
Or stand on it. Stand on business.
10 toes down.
2 feet in.
That's a deep pull.
Like
I still don't know why he says
just
that.
like our guy Freddie Hoiberg.
I would not have been motivated either.
Do you think anybody calls him Freddie?
I don't know. Price is the only one I've ever heard call him Fred.
You think it's more likely somebody calls him Freddie or Frederick?
I would imagine his government is is Frederick.
We're gonna look this up, see if we
No,
can get a government
no.
name on Fred Hoiberg.
I don't know if you could even do that.
What? Usually Wikipedia will tell me.
Frederick Hoiberg?
Frederick Christian Hoiberg. Christian with a K. Interesting.
Well,
what's a non-traditional spelling?
It is.
That's all I meant.
You're so stupid.
Like Christian Campbell for the Red Sox, also a K.
Yeah.
So
Are you happy with them? It's a good win last night.
Yeah, I'd like to see a few more of them in a row. Be nice.
Double them up.
Like to get over.
I don't think anybody's going to run away and hide in the East.
No, I mean they're only a couple games back. It's like 10-7 as the leader, so it's not bad. But
yeah, it's a highly competitive.
I'd like to see him get over. I'd be on the right side of 500. That's a big ask. That's not a big ask.
Wonder if Toronto's ever going to get their act together consistently.
Well, they paid their guy, so they'll be fine.
Yeah, Ravi here for fat shaming.
No, I'm not fat shaming. I just don't know if I want to pay for it.
Typically, fat is cheap. That's why America's in trouble.
Well, it was expensive in Toronto.
I just don't think we can be calling professional athletes fat.
I didn't say fat. You said fat. I said I'm concerned about the body, which is a nice way of saying fat.
When you send me pictures and blow up his frame and say
concerned about the body.
No, it was, would you pay for this?
Fair question, right?
It's a long contract.
Don't worry, though. They're giving him 325 of it up front. That's never gone wrong.
He's a professional.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's 26 years old. He's never coming in shape. And once in his life, how professional can he be?
Dude rakes.
That's fine. Famously, bodies get older and don't break, or bodies get better and don't break down as they get older.
Which is funny, too, because his dad was razor thin.
Yeah, he was wiry.
Yeah.
Yeah. He put on a little weight as he went on his career, but he was a thin guy for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be honest. Like, so
Vlad was, you could not throw that dude a ball.
No. He would hit intentional balls. He would hit balls that bounced.
I enjoyed watching him hit. He's one of those guys that was great at what he did, that you're just not sure you could tell somebody to say, hey, go watch him.
Oh, you 100% cannot stylistically replicate what Vladimir Guerrero did.
Yeah.
You know what I low-key enjoyed watching him do as much as hit, though?
See if he could keep his shoes on when he swung?
No, I kind of like watching him throw.
Yeah, he did have a hose.
He had and he like sort of like, because his.
Fire the laser!
Okay. Because his limbs are so long, it's sort of like unfurled. You know, sort of this like long motion.
Like your brow when you don't have that puzzled look?
Furrowed.
Oh.
Furled is like an unfolding almost.
Like when you get out of the joint and you get to work?
No, it's furlough. Almost. You're right there.
I can't stand you. Just go along to get along for once in your life. I bet you were the kid that had to like jump rope by himself.
I was actually a very good jump roper as a kid.
I think it's phenomenal.
I won a competition in elementary school.
Really?
Yeah, I was the last one standing.
You and Willie Amos.
I don't know what that means.
You don't remember Willie Amos? Willie Amos was coincidentally another number 27, like Vlad Guerrero.
Is that the guy that did the cookies, Famous Amos? No? You hit me with furlough and I can't hit you with Famous Amos?
I just want you to think about something.
Okay.
Culturally.
Yeah.
Do I strike you as somebody that would be interested in talking about anything that references Amos? Are you familiar with like Amos and Andy or any other old skits?
I'm not.
I find it ironic that somebody that is historically as stew as you are sometimes would just go to Amos in the Rolodex.
Here's my point with Famous Amos cookies.
Google Amos and Andy.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about Amos and Andy. I thought Famous Amos from the cookies might be a little more in your wheelhouse.
Because I like cookies?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they make the oatmeal raisin that you're a big fan of, but I know you do like cookies, so.
I like a particular cookie.
Oh, okay. I thought
oatmeal raisin.
Do you like a particular brand of rice too, or is that? San Francisco treat.
I got nothing.
That's what I meant. Minute rice.
He won't either here shortly.
I like fried rice.
Do you?
Yeah.
Attaboy.
It's a good Chinese dish.
Anyway, Willie Amos was a jump roper.
Oh, okay.
Played DB at Nebraska.
Yeah, I remember Willie Avis.
World class jump roper.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm looking up Avis and Andy, by the way.
Yeah, you do that. You do that. It would pretty much be frowned upon.
Oh, you're not a fan?
Wow.
I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with their work.
Oh, anywho, Coach Butler taking the podium with a funny joke.
Somebody on that show's name was Del Sharbut.
Why?
It's just a strange name. Sharbut?
That is a fine line.
Sorry. Yeah, I took the podium with a joke. Not an Amos and Andy joke, because apparently we're out on them. I don't know why.
It's 2025, Ravi.
I don't know. Like I said, unfamiliar with their work. I don't know how it's aged.
Did you Google?
Yeah, I Googled them.
How do you think that would age?
It's 2025. You never know anymore.
Oh,
You're a
anyway.
big Tropic Thunder guy. I don't know.
Yeah, Tropic Thunder. Wow.
What's up?
I don't know why you keep looking at me.
I want some help.
I can't say anything.
I can't say anything.
Anyway, from the east. One moment, please.
You all right?
I'm going to need you to knock it off.
Okay, I'm cool. Yeah, John Butler.
Because I feel like you're playing dumb and it's infuriating me low key, and I have the sweats. Seriously, it's like it's creeping on the come up.
Okay, John Butler. Skull it. Making jokes.
I forgot what I was gonna say about the coming along of this defense. So he's talking about like the scheme and the player development and the competition, and all I could think of was like, do you think these guys? Because I don't. You think they like sit around and say, hey, the theme for the blank is going to be this when you take the podium? Because they don't know the questions that are coming, but the language is all the same.
Yeah, I don't know that they have it as pointed as, hey, this is kind of what we want to talk about this week. I think it's more.
Because I bet you Coach Rule doesn't even listen.
Probably not.
I bet he doesn't listen.
I mean, I bet he has somebody listen for him, and like if something weird comes up, he'll address it.
Hey, Keith, did anybody say anything I should know?
Yeah, probably.
It's kind of weird. I think Keith would say, "Do it yourself." No, actually, he probably would.
I would say no. I don't think he would. I think Keith would be.
But it would be weird for another like.
I think it would be like, hey, I don't have time to go listen to the thing. If anything weird comes up, just let me know. I think that's a reasonable ask.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
But I don't think it's a, hey, let's go in with these talking points. I don't think they go in with an agenda necessarily. I think it's, hey, these are the things we care about. These are the things we've been working on. And if you've got communication throughout your staff, then that shouldn't be, like everybody should be talking about the same things. Like if you're all working on the same things, yeah, it's going to be a little different in defensive back room versus quarterback room versus wide receivers versus defensive line, right? But in general, you're all working on the same things. You're working on physicality. Which has been come up a lot.
I am. That one's kind of. It's not bugging me, but I am curious.
You asked me about it Monday when Rule brought it up. If it bothered me that he brought it up,
I'm like, is this? And it's clearly intentional. And Butler went into specifics. Shane, do you have the specific clip where JB talked about? I shouldn't call him JB. Where Coach Butler talked about the physicality, intentionality, and everything that they do. It was clip 9, Shane.
Okay.
Maximize the value of every single period. There's going to be a physical element in every one of them, whether it's individual, special teams, 9-on-7, perimeter. Like there's really the only time we're jogging through and running through is right before practice. Other than that, everything is physical. And I told him that as the season was going last year. I mean, I think that's obviously a trait that his teams have always had, and now you know why. Because in order to be physical, you have to practice physical. You can't practice at a certain tempo and then expect that tempo is going to reflect itself, come games. So I would say that would be my first impression just overall. But somebody said, why has Matt had so much success? I'm like, it's because we practice hard and we practice physical, we practice tough. And I think that shows itself on what I saw from afar in his teams at Temple and Baylor, and then obviously what we're going to be about and have been about here.
Interesting, because what was the great question that I had going into spring with their numbers?
If they'd be able to still play physical.
You have to be able to work smarter.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about that.
Well, to be fair, they haven't really cut down their numbers yet either.
Well, they're low.
I mean, they're lower than they were, but they're north of 120 still, right?
But, I mean, not with guys practicing.
Okay, yeah, sure. Guys because there's a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah. Roster-wise, they are, but actually available.
I mean, I get you on a technicality.
No,
I know
right.
what you're saying.
You're right. It is something that I remember you bringing up about.
Because I was curious.
Yeah, and I've struggled with this 105 number and what it actually means for a while, because at Nebraska especially, I do think it's ridiculous not to taper it down. But I go back and I go, okay, 105 is twice an NFL roster. You should be fine, right? And maybe that's being too linear. Maybe that's being too, well, hey, those guys are all pros and you're doing the best of the best and you're not really developing in the same way. I get that. But I would think twice the roster size would give you enough leeway to still kind of do whatever you want. Maybe I'm wrong there. I've never been in a high level football practice, in terms of a participant, so I don't really know. And I sit there and I go, that should be enough guys. 105 should be enough guys to still be physical and do what you want, especially if, like Coach Rule said over the weekend, you do have 5 or 6 guys that can start at corner and 4 or 5 guys that can start at safety. If you've coached yourself into options, one of those options is to continue to be physical, right? It's not just options as far as personnel. It's options on how you want to practice and how you want to play and how you want to continue moving along with your program. I think that's one of the things you're talking about, where you're not terrified of saying, hey, we're still going to be in practice. We're not going to be reckless. We're going to try and make sure nobody gets hurt. But if somebody gets hurt, we still have options.
Shane, play clip 10, please, and I'll expound as we play a couple of these.
I am showing them clips of secondary players that we had in Buffalo, obviously. Guys like Jordan Poyer was an elite tackler and worked at it. And it's not just like, hey, he's an elite tackler. It's because he would work at it in practice and he'd stay after. The kid, Taron Johnson, who's their nickel, was a great tackler. And then that kid, Christian Benford, that just signed, he was, I think one year he was the number 1 tackler in the league in the secondary. And a lot of it has to do with the fundamentals. It also has to do with the size of the players. You have to be big, strong. But I think you show everything, right? So like we had a presentation in the spring about Peanut Tillman, how he punches the ball. So you're just trying to use resources at all aspects of, okay, this is what we're coaching you on. And we always joke, sometimes you don't believe us. So let's just show you an NFL player doing it exactly like we coach it. Or let's show another guy we've coached in the past doing exactly like we coach it, because you're always trying to just give examples of what we expect, showing other people doing it correctly, and then therefore convincing them that they can. And tackling is a constant. We work it every single day in pre-practice, in practice, and even in today in practice, actually we were tackling some live situations because you have to get good at tackling.
I was talking to a player yesterday, and he said his coach referred to him as an elite tackler and had a dominant day of contact. And I felt like it was just interesting. Now, he's not a particularly big guy, but he's a strong guy, and he's historically been a good tackler his whole life. But I think the interesting thing about that is we wondered this whole time about the level of physicality. I would get questions about, style of practice and how physical are they. And, that's typically sometimes a big criticism of, us as former players, we're sometimes a bunch of blowhards, right? It's
back in my day.
Yeah, we did it and you hear that a lot. And I think sometimes if you meet the physicality standards, see, all that other stuff goes away. Nobody see, we don't care. It's as long as it's physical. Shane, play clip, skip 11, play clip, play clip 12, and I'll give you a practical example of what I saw the other day. Play clip 12.
Yeah, I think the constant thing is you're emphasizing player safety and health, but you're also convincing them on the level of physicality that's required. So you have to, that is a fine line, because football is a unique game because of the tackling aspect and because of the injuries that come with not just tackling, but how physical the game is. But I think what I've learned through the years is there's no substitute for actually tackling bodies. So like you can drill tackling a bag, and you see all these cute toys, the roller, donut bag, and sleds and things. But at the end of the day, like, you have to practice tackling bodies, fitting up against bodies, striking bodies, and then tackling them to the ground at enough times to get you where you need to be. So I think it's just, I think what happened was when the player safety thing kind of really hit its peak, a lot of people backed away from the physical element of it and just constantly were teaching the fitting and the wrapping. And I think that's why the tackling has suffered through the years. So I think with Matt and how he emphasizes it and how we follow his lead, I think that's allowed us to be one of the better tackling groups.
Yeah, so it's interesting because what happens is, and whether they're transitioning from 9-on-7 to 7-on-7 to 1v1s, you know, at the high school level, sometimes, or at least for us at Westside, we'll give colors, right? This is a green period. This is a yellow period. This is a red period, right? Or whatever. And so we kind of know because we explain what it means. I kind of like what he did, and I'll be curious to see if we adopt it, because we got this at the clinic where he talks about the period and what it's the desired outcome is and how to approach it from a physicality standpoint. Hey, listen, when you can see the eyes, shoulders square, I want dominant contact. If you're at an angle, lay off. If you're tracking near hip, I want a run through. Or he's very specific about how he wants the contact to be, and the players all speak the same language. What do I always say about common language? Common language builds in, it brings in accountability, and you can talk quickly.
Yeah.
So,
because you can say, "Hey, you were near hip. Did you run through him there?"
Yeah, I want the run through, right?
Like,
hey,
no,
same foot, same shoulder. So you don't have to just tag off. You don't see a guy get pulled down from the side, because you know, hey, listen, if I'm at an angle and I can't see eyes, that means I lay off, right? So even in drills, and 9-on-7 is fairly physical, so it's an inside run drill, obviously. It's a physical drill. But even in like 7-on-7, right, if you see a wide receiver and you're a DB and you can see eyes, both players know I can expect contact, right? Because what you don't want to see happen is, well, I wasn't going to bring you to the ground, and then a guy gets trucked by an offensive guy, or vice versa. So you can just establish quick continuity and a certain level of physicality by just making it known before you do each transition period. Because between the chemistry, there's three current themes have we heard since spring ball started? They continually come up.
Culture.
Yep. The dirty C word.
Physicality.
Yeah, for sure.
And communication.
Or teaching.
Yeah.
Like, just that's what spring is for. And I go back to when he said, hey, don't tell me what you can't do. I want to know what they can do, and then we'll figure out, can they play? Like, that was almost in the open.
Yeah.
Of when he first started, because that's how you build depth, right?
Yeah. You figure out what guys can do.
Then you don't have to alienate guys and put them on the shelf. Like, everybody is.
Well, and here's the thing about it too, right? If you've gotten to this point in your college career, right, in your football career, in your football life, you probably can do something, right? There's a good chance 95% of the people on that roster can do something at a level that can contribute to winning, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. They would have washed out by now, whatever. Now, there's other factors about, are you accountable? Are you a good culture piece? Are you accepting of your role? Like, there's a lot of, are you doing all the other things off the field we're asking you to do? There's a lot of other pieces on whether you're going to play or not. But in terms of just ability, most people on that roster could do something to contribute to winning. So if you start there, it's a much easier place to go from, and it's frankly, it's going to be easier to cut down the 105 by saying, okay, yeah, you can do these things physically, but where else did you not, where else aren't you checking boxes, right? Yeah. If you know what we expect of you, these are the boxes that need to be checked, and you're not checking those boxes, it's a pretty easy decision.
And it makes meetings
pretty easy.
Makes film watching easy.
Yeah, you
because
might have
there's no guesswork.
Yeah, you might have some uncomfortable moments because you're talking about people's dreams and their lives.
You'll have plenty.
But there's
of that.
plenty of clarity, right? Because everybody's on the same page because you've got common language and you've built in that accountability. The thing that I find really interesting, though, is, not to bring everything back to the Warriors, but I was having this conversation about Jonathan Kuminga last night, right? Ability-wise, he's better than like a Gary Payton II. He's better than a Moses Moody. He's got more talent than than like a Quentin Post who plays for them and plays big minutes. He's probably
Does Post get a seat to sit down?
He did get a seat to sit down because Trace Jackson David gave it up for him.
Yeah.
You know who didn't give it up for him?
Who?
Jonathan Kuminga. Anyway, I'm just saying. There's plenty of things that Jonathan Kuminga physically can do on a basketball court that would be useful to the Warriors. But there's obviously something there, whether it's he thinks he should be getting 20 points a game, whether it's he thinks he should be getting these minutes, whether he thinks he should have these number of ISOs. There's obviously something about Jonathan Kuminga that does not mesh with the role they need him to play. Gary Payton Jr. does not care if he touches the basketball at all.
You think those assets or traits are well defined?
I bet they are.
You think?
I think so.
So he's just defiant.
Either defiant about what his role should be or who he thinks he is.
Shane, before we take a break, Shane.
Okay.
I want you to play a clip. Clip 9, please.
I've only worked with Matt for a full season.
I'm sorry, clip 8. My bad.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that.
From a secondary perspective, just as defensive back player, there's really 3 things you have to be able to do. You got to be able to cover, you got to be able to tackle, and you got to be able to play the ball. And if you can do those 3 things within their own little kind of guidelines underneath of that, you're going to be a really good player. So like from a coverage perspective, you got to be able to play man, zone, and some type of match principles. You have to be able to tackle, and tackling is a lost art in today's game because of when you emphasize player safety a lot of the times you sometimes sacrifice the physicality of how you're practicing tackling. So that's an area that's just, we are continuing to work and develop that I think is critical. And if players ever ask me, when they ask me, how can I separate myself from other players on the team or even other players in the draft, I'm like, if you become a great tackler, you will clearly separate yourself. So I think that's a huge trait. And then the ability to defend the ball, whether you're breaking it up or intercept it. Did studies throughout my 10 years in the NFL. If you're a player in college that's around the ball in college, you're going to end up being around it and intercepting it in the pros. So those are the 3, traits from a trait standpoint. And then you got to be smart, tough, and dependable, because you got to be somebody that, offenses are moving constantly. If you watch college football and pro football, very rarely is an offense going to break out, line up in a formation, and stay that way. There's going to be motions, shifts, sometimes multiples within plays. So you got to be smart. You got to be able to communicate. You got to be dependable. You got to be someone you can count on. So those traits, I think, are the ones that when you're looking at who's out there for us, it'll be those guys that have those physical traits we just mentioned, and then that level of smarts, toughness, and dependable that they can execute, play with effort, and finish.
Do you get the sense that you'll wonder why guys play and don't play?
No, I think we'll know. I think they'll know.
It's fairly
cut and dry.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
See, I can rock with that.
Yeah. And I think most players can too.
I can definitely.
I think
rock
most
with
people in general just want to know where they stand.
Yeah, don't worry about how many numbers are the competition in the DB room. It will sort itself out.
We will talk to our friend Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7, coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
I think we've been, if you look at the numbers, we've been, playing some pretty good man coverage. I think some of the additions we have in the secondary have allowed us to do that. And then we've kind of moved some guys around, and that's helped us. I think we've got some pretty good blitzers that we've been utilizing in different spots that I'm excited about, so those two areas I think are things that just kind of initially stand out. And I think the continued development of our defensive line has been good. Terry's doing a nice job with Phil, and I think those guys are coming along, since obviously that's an area of, that we lost some guys last year, but I think that they're getting better. So they would be the three areas that just kind of popping off of my head.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. Here at Hurrdat Sports Bar Grill, we're joined now by Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. What's up, BC?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Yeah, how we doing, buddy? We hanging in there?
Doing all right. Having a rough hair day, I think, but doing all right.
Don't be so hard on yourself. I wouldn't know any different.
Yeah, I usually have a hat on. This is why I usually wear a hat.
Right? It's like, how's my hair doing? Am I doing all right? How about your twins? Are you cautiously optimistic, or are you allowing yourself to not go there?
Why would I be optimistic at all? We won one game yesterday. We're 6-12. We're not. Everybody gets hurt. It's ridiculous, Damon.
Do you see how fast Byron was to the plate, though? My God.
Byron's the only healthy one. Correa hurt his wrist yesterday. Matt Wallner hurt. We have guys, every time we try to beat out a ground ball, a guy pulls his hamstring. Like, we've had like 4 guys who have pulled hamstrings in 2 weeks of baseball. It's ridiculous.
Well, the beautiful thing is the leader in the clubhouse is still only at 10 wins. So
yeah, anything can happen. I realize it's a marathon. Sometimes that's encouraging. Sometimes it's really depressing. So we'll see which it is. The division's open, I guess, for business, but we'll see.
Hey, BC, what's the first thing you think of when I say the name Willie Amos?
Oh, I think of a terrible injury, actually. That's the first thing. I was there when he got injured. That used to watch practices, and he had a really bad injury. And it was one of the toughest things I ever saw. But besides that, on a more positive note, I think of a game against Kansas State where he had a couple interceptions, and I also think of jump roping.
So at least jump roping was third. I to Ravi about jump roping earlier, and I made a Willie Amos reference, and he looked at me like I was speaking Portuguese. So I'm glad you eventually landed the plane at jumping rope. But the 2 picks is a good pull, man. That's a nice little Rolodex you have.
Yeah, it's stuff that's not useful. Like from 1987 to 2003, I have a Rolodex of Husker football, and actually the stuff that's happened more recently, it blurs together. So it's weird how the brain works like that. But I should have said jumping rope first with Willie Amos, because that was like the story. Like every time anybody did anything on Willie when he was at Nebraska. So I can back you up on that, Damon. That was like the thing with him that everybody had to do that featured story about.
Should have put some respect on the name of the 1999 FISAC World Jump Rope Champion.
Right.
I apologize. That's my
world
bad.
class. And I somehow wove it into a Vlad Guerrero reference because they both were 27, and we were speaking about Junior and whether you'd pay him for double-digit years and $325 guaranteed. Do you like the connectivity in this crazy brain of mine?
Yeah, I do. That's pretty impressive that you got to Willie Amos with that.
It took a while.
He was a freak athlete, man.
He was an incredible athlete.
Yeah, he was. He was something else.
Explosive. And he had these thin legs too, and it was like, how?
Yeah.
You jumping 40 inches.
From all that jump roping, man.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Can you feel the level of comfort that Coach Butler now exudes when he takes the podium?
I don't. Yeah, I guess so. I don't think it's like his favorite thing to do. I think like the one thing that probably we shouldn't take a leap just because he doesn't want to name names that he's not interesting, if that makes sense. Because like sometimes I think everybody gets caught up in like, oh, I want to hear who's where and how the depth chart's shaking out. And I thought he said some bullet points that were noteworthy yesterday, while sticking to his main premise, which was we're not going to get into like where this guy is at this moment or who's on the rise and all that stuff. And I understand that. It kind of goes against what we're all chasing, of course, because for 365 days around here, it's like who's where on the depth chart and that sort of thing. But I thought like just the part about tackling and the physicality and practice, and also when he dropped the line, like all those new guys, we're feeling good about, like that's a noteworthy comment. So there was stuff in there.
BC, as you hear Coach Butler talk about physicality, you hear Coach Rule talk about physicality, like what is your takeaway from that? Obviously, it's a point of emphasis for them, but they seem to be really hammering on that particular subject. What do you, I guess, does that change your expectation of what you expect to see in the fall, or what does that do when you hear them talking about it?
There's all these little categories where things have shifted over time. And if you look at them in a slightly different way than someone else, maybe you can get an edge. And tackling and physicality and how you go about your practices, I think they probably believe is one of them. And you kind of heard that in John Butler's answer, which is why I thought that was interesting. I think he's as he said, he's been around Matt Rule for like a year and a half, but he not even that, but just the way that his practices are conducted, he said it's elite with just how physical it is and how much emphasis there is on that aspect. And I like that he stressed the live tackling, and it's different, than hitting a sled or any toys you roll out there, anything like that. And so I think they can really gain an edge on it. And this was 2 years ago. I thought Nebraska was a really good tackling team. I did think they took a step back a little bit last year, and I think the staff did as well. So it doesn't surprise me that is a priority to get that back, where you're one of those top 5, top 10 teams in the country that do it well. And it can make all the difference in this league. If you have a 3rd and 6 and you are that precise tackling team that holds the play to 3 yards and doesn't let the 4 yards after contact, that's the difference between winning and losing. And so I think that it's a category where they believe they could get an edge, and so stress it to with all gusto and see what happens with it.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what to make of it, other than, and I'm fortunate, right, because I do get to see a little bit, but I do find it interesting that they're not afraid, because sometimes, and I like the way Ravi asked the question to you. He said, does it change your expectation level? I think sometimes coaches have this level of, okay, how will this be received if I say this at the podium? But then you double down on it and you say it in this repetitive fashion, physicality. Hey, I think we're a physical team. Coach Rule went into detail the other day, hey, a guy gets loose down the sidelines, and then are we tracking the near hip? Are we doing this? And then later on in the scrimmage, guys aren't running open and we get guys to the ground. And Coach Butler talks about physicality. They're not really worried about setting some false expectation level, because sometimes we don't know how to receive the information. They're like, hey man, we're a physical football team, and they're not afraid to know that people could take that and run with it, depending on how it lands with us emotionally. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the key point too is when he was talking about when you're addressing players about it, and they come to him and they say, what can separate me from someone else? What can get me to the league? Great tackling, but that's what he says. Like, that's the difference, that there's the gap between guys who can do it really well and those who don't. And then, everybody on that roster has had success playing football just with their unbelievable God-given abilities growing up. But now I think, as he stressed, there's the younger guys who see, like, if I want to play, like, let's say I am in that DB room where there's so many guys, I have to be ultra physical. This is a physical game. I can't shy away from that. And so I think that they're putting it right in front of guys' face. Like this is an everyday thing. There's not going to be a lot of jogging. We're going to get after it. And, this is what hopefully will separate us from others in the fall in these games that are going to be decided by a narrow margin. There's a lot of teams working hard all over the country. We know that. But I do think that coaches are trying to measure like how to, it's a candid question, like how to measure being physical with like the safety concerns and everything that's going on. And I think that they feel like they found a healthy balance there to try to do it well.
BC, when you hear, and I know we heard from Coach Butler yesterday, but I want to kind of loop Coach Rule in again. When you hear them talking about the secondary, whether it's Coach Rule saying, hey, we've got 6 guys that can start at corner or 5 guys that can start at safety, and then you talk about how you've got how they're practicing and how physical they're being and everything, does that give you confidence in the depth of that room or concern that more guys haven't separated themselves yet as sort of that starting caliber?
I don't want to grab the Kool-Aid too early in the morning, but if I have to pick one or the other, it gives me confidence because that's what I wanted to hear this spring. Like I feel like there's so many like second, third year newcomer guys in that secondary that we have been kind of excited about, or we heard kind of teasers about last year. And it's like, okay, this would be about the time when they should start to move forward and put a little pressure on the guys who have been here 4 or 5 years. They understand what's expected now, sort of like the veterans. In a way, they are veterans at a certain point. I think after you've been in a program a year or so, you start to know as much or get closer to knowing as much as some of those guys who have a couple years on you. And so that's what I hope would happen with that group in the spring. There's like too many guys that we write hopeful and talk hopeful things about in that secondary to not want to hear what Rule said on Saturday.
BC, when does it add to the intrigue of what you think this defense is capable of doing? You heard Coach Butler reference Terry and fitting in the run game and knowing the fronts. You know that they've got a ton of options. Do you feel like you know more about the defensive trajectory or the offensive trajectory, given that it seems like the defense tells you more? They just have more movable pieces.
Mm-hmm. The defense is more of a mystery to me, really. Just like what tweaks they're going to do. And, I think they've got some things up their sleeve that I would not expect them to unveil to the public. And so, when they talk about all these different personnel groupings and, these different packages where you can play a lot of players, it's hard to get your mind around who's exactly where. Like, I think you could form a good guess at like a 2 deep without hearing the names and be pretty close if you pay close attention on the day to day. But I think a lot of us on the outside don't know sort of the niche spots where certain guys could go or how this particular player could branch out and do this over here. And that's what's really interesting to me. Like just you could take like a Deshaun Singleton as an example, just the different ways you could use them. But you could say that about, I think, any of those DBs. It sounds like when Rules uses that word positionless and it sort of being an objective, it sounds like it's kind of taking shape behind the scenes, which is really interesting. But also when you're not seeing practices and stuff, it's hard to know exactly what that picture looks like. But I will say, I think John Butler thinks they're tracking well. I got that impression yesterday. And I thought it was an interesting part where he, and I think this is wise, he leans on Phil Snow, who's seen 4 decades of off seasons with different teams. And occasionally you throw it at a guy like that and say, are we on the right track? Are we making good time in Midwestern speak? And it sounds like the answer they're getting back is they feel pretty good about, especially that back 7. Like when you hear that at the linebacker that the 2 spots, he said, I feel like we got a 3 deep there. It's pretty good. Then you hear, Rule say, well, there could be 6 starting corners, 5 safeties, all that. I mean, there's a lot of options in that back 7. Now, the defensive line, I like Van Poppel's tone. It's just like, we're about the now, we're not about what was, but they're going to have to keep grinding. They're going to have to develop guys. And John Butler was actually pretty honest about that too. He said that one is going to go into the fall a little bit more.
He's a grown up.
Mm-hmm.
RVP is a grown up. But you know what? So let me just ask, how did it land with you that it's going into the fall? Is that because you think guys are so close and don't have a separator, or that they have so many that are capable?
Or maybe they
I think they're different.
The guys that
I think those are different.
Or are you worried that they haven't found guys that they feel are capable enough yet?
Yeah. It landed that it's still a development process, but also what they probably expected going in. That's how I took it. Now, that doesn't mean they're not encouraged by some things, because we've heard them say, like, and John Butler said this yesterday, he really likes what Terry Braden's doing with that group and Phil Simpson and how they're working it out. But it would be the natural expectation, especially, like, I was really intrigued to see like a Jalen George, like what he could do this spring. And he was a guy who was injured, he's a guy who came in off the portal. And so I think there are these pieces that still have to come into the equation. But RVP, man, I feel like he's a good example. If other guys follow his lead and the way he attacked last year when it didn't go exactly as he planned, they'll be okay. Like, that was an example of being selfless. Like, he thought that was going to be a season for him going in. When he realized it was going to be a red shirt, he gained like 8 to 10 pounds during the fall, which not a lot of guys do. And I mean, he's listed at 6'5", 290, but there's some guys just look massive for their measurement. And I think he's one of them. I just am really impressed with what he did with his body. And I think he attacked every element of that red shirt season to give him a shot, at least, to try to be a guy who just steps right in. And I like that he said the words, no one is irreplaceable, because we do get into this game around here where it's like, oh, what about this guy? I do this too, because we get so used to certain names, and we love Ty Robinson. We've talked about Ty Robinson for 6 years, but this is the cycle of football. It's time for move those pieces off the board. New guys were recruited for this reason. And I think they have a coach in Terry Braden who has a lot of energy, who helps boost their confidence. Like, it's go time for you guys. It's your turn now. Let's do it. And so I like that there's a very forward-thinking mindset, even while some of the conversation always backtracks about that particular position.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on an island on this one. I'm wildly optimistic about the defensive line.
Yeah.
I know that Ty and Nash were good.
Gilligan over here.
I do. I know that Ty and Nash were good. I really like the pieces in that room. I think RVP could have played a critical role last year and they didn't end up needing him to. Like, I think that room could be really, really good. And it's going to be different. Like, it's going to look different than it did last year, but I think it could be more disruptive. I don't know. I feel like I'm all by myself. I think that could be a really good room.
To your point, Ravi, and this isn't a knock on these guys, Nash was pretty banged up last year. It wasn't like the natural climb maybe that was expected, and because I think he was a little dinged up. And Jamari was dinged up a lot during his career. I mean, so we're talking about 2 guys who the last year were not
all the way,
I don't think, at 100. And so sometimes in that conversation, it's always like all 3 of those guys were maybe at the top of their game. And again, that's not a knock on them. I think there was an injury part with Nash and stuff, but 2 of them were not, because of they weren't 100. So that can be replaced. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but you can get there. And Elijah Judy's a guy who's got some determination, and I think it feels comfortable in his skin, So I'm not going to beat my chest and act like they're going to be great at this point, but I am open-minded to them being as good. They just got to keep getting better every day, and I think that's where John Butler was going yesterday.
Fairly subtle, and it kind of flies under the radar, but I like how he buoyed the development of his secondary and his defense by talking about measuring it against the development and growth of the offense and wide receivers. I like the way that he worded it, because what do we always do in spring until we can actually see? If somebody says, hey, then, the D-line had a good day, then it's like, oh, man, the offensive line very good. Or, wow, we really ran the ball well today. And it's like, oh, yeah, man, the defensive line is struggling. I like how he gauged it against their growth and development to see where they were as a barometer without saying anything too crazy, right? I mean, that's a savvy, experienced guy that knows how to grade in a real fluid fashion.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a, hey, we're holding our own. There's a lot of stories about Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter and everybody. We're doing all right, like in the numbers. He said it in the numbers too, like when they're charting like the man coverage and stuff, like it's coming out okay for us. And so definitely it was said in a way, it's like, don't throw like concern at the wide receivers or anything. I think it's a good give and take between those two position groups, but he's saying my guys, they can compete and they're doing fine. So, and they should, they've got some dudes who are really just interesting guys. I mean, all off season, we could go through like 3 defensive back names a week, and all of them have like an interesting background and something where you could, by the end of that talk, convince yourself could be a player here. So I think they've recruited it well, and now it's just to keep that climb going and develop those guys, because that is a room. Mike Riley takes a lot of crap for like how it went here, but he once said that quote, like corners are gold, DBs are gold, like to have a bunch of them, and so Nebraska's got a lot of options right now, and that's a good thing.
BC, another spot with the give and take. Are you hitting the panic button on either side of the line just because we like one of them, or are we cool there too? We gonna be okay?
I like that it's been nice to hear that the pass pro is what Rule highlighted as being pretty good, and I think he's credited the offensive line throughout the spring, and so that's encouraging. I like that there's some guys, some different names putting some pressure on the O-line. Like you hear like a Tyler Knack come up, Grant Seagren, a guy sort of in the wings. I think they think's a good player. And so, I mean, that's an interesting group too. Like Justin, the center story sort of got solidified a little last week. It felt like with the Justin Evans conversation about him there and him having a gap over the rest of the field. But then that opens up the door about what you do at left guard. Obviously, there's plenty of options at right tackle, and you have 4 veterans who have been sitting off to the side. That's a tough group to put your 2 deep down in pen on. You can know or have a good guess at certain spots, but I don't think that's 100% on anything either. Like left guard and right tackle are really interesting to me, like how that sorts out, because sort of like the defensive backs, I do think they have some options there.
Listen, I go right guard, left guard. I agree with you. I do find it interesting, and I'm kind of guilty of what I don't want other people to do, but Coach Rule is so forthright. We still parse through it, right? Why is he continually talking about Tyler Knack and Grant Seagren? Like, it's just not his style. So is it, hey, I want to give them a vote of confidence? Is it, hey, they're really good? Hey, stay with it? Because I had to back down off of this the other day, BC. A couple weeks ago, I told Ravi, and I don't know if I said this on air or just to him, I said, I feel like I want to be impressed with the offensive line. Like, I'm surprised. Like, I was genuinely surprised at their productivity. And I heard Coach Rule say it a couple weeks ago, and then he said it again. And maybe they're just going to be a good group. Like, maybe they're just guys that he feels like he likes the competition there, and it's competitive, because I don't think you're far off in not being able to name a couple of positions. And I think we assume some guys are going to play positions because of the accolades they came with. And I don't know, man. Coach Raiola just strike me as the type of guy that's, because it should be, he will. Like he's going to do what's right.
I mean, even if you took out guys who are developing from the conversation, and you just said these veterans are coming back into the fold, there's still extras, like, so it that's why I think it's an interesting position group. And I do think it's been encouraging that despite the fact that some veterans who might be an important part of the mix come the fall are out, you're still hearing good feedback from the head coach. Like, I like where the O-line's at. I mean, that was 2 Saturdays ago. The O-line was sort of the main headline that he gave us. And I know sometimes things are said to boost confidence, probably. He doesn't say anything just to say it, though. And I always keep that in mind. And whether this is right or not, I think it matters who comes in front of the media too. Like, I think that's a way of showing, like, this is a guy who's going about things sort of the right way. And Tyler Kanak was doing interviews last week. And so, stuff like that is, I always take note of, and you try to put little clues together, whether we get misguided or not sometimes with it.
I mean, he told us as much at media days last year, that the guys that get to go talk to the media, that's part of a reward for them in terms of, even if it's not something everybody.
And yesterday, just quick, at Sierra Wright up front.
He had boys guys up there, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he offered confirmation to you, Damon, on one of your main points. It's that guys, even though it's ultra competitive, there's a lot of names. He had that part about, like, the closeness is real. Like, guys are really rooting for each other and all that stuff. And I know that's been a main bullet point you've stressed, that that's a real thing. And so when Sierra said that, I was like, oh, Damon wasn't lying like he usually does. He was telling the truth.
Yeah, I'm a big false hope guy.
No.
BC.
That's Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7 BC. We appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Don't forget, if you're out on the roads this morning, make sure you got that seatbelt buckled and make it click. It prevents injuries and saves lives. This message brought to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
If I can go over to Keys, right? They say, hey, man, I appreciate you investing in 2.8. Like, I mean that, right? And he'll turn around and say to me, oh, man, like, he makes us better too. We love that guy. He plays your position.
Yeah.
I'm in.
It's really easy. It'd be really easy not to invest.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm all in.
That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
How special is it for you to be back in Nebraska and just be a part of this Cornhusker program again?
I can't even tell you. I had no idea what I was really getting into. I'd never met Coach Ruhl before. And coming back here, I'm just so thankful, and just I prayed a lot about it, and all my prayers have been answered so far, and I cannot wait for next season.
Yeah, so what were your initial conversations with Rule to get you back over to Nebraska?
Well, it started off with Will Compton. When Coach made the change, literally Will Compton called me like 30 seconds later and said, "Heck, you need to go home, man. You need to go back." He goes, "Would you do it?" And I said, I'd think about it. So he said, "I'm calling Coach Rule." So that's how it kind of started. So Will Compton it's ironic because he was the first player I ever recruited as a full-time coach when I was here at Nebraska. And so it kind of came back full circle.
The Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball story is a story of growth and success. After getting to visit the team this fall and watching practice and talking with Coach G, I am confident in this team this year.
The best you is really dang good. I mean, it's really good. Okay? So just be that. No more, no less.
Lightning in my fingers, and I'm nice on my feet. Heavyweight big swinger, got you saying double while they're counting to three.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball are built for big moments.
Brace yourself.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Don't forget to come in and check out the April specials and just a few more days to get those fish and chips before Lent is over. Joining us now is our friend Kevin Sjuts from 1011 News in Lincoln. What's going on, Kevin?
Good morning. How are you boys?
We're good. I feel like I should take advantage, Kev, of it's Nebraska softball, right? Quietly on a nice little roll. Actually, Jordy having a blast getting to swing the sticks again, and boy, they've got some pop, man. That is well documented. How quiet of a good story is what's going on with softball?
It's too quiet. I mean, what they are doing is remarkable.
Yeah.
Not only winning games, but the fashion in which they're doing it. They have an elite pitcher in Jordy Ball, and they have one of the best offenses in college softball. They're second nationally in home runs hit, and they broke the record for most home runs in a single season with like 3 weeks left in the regular season. They're at 80+ right now.
I think 84.
Yeah, I think that's right after what they just did to Northwestern over the weekend. And, they've played really well all year. They're playing really, really well right now, having just gone to Evanston, a team that traditionally contends for Big Ten championships.
And has been a bit of a thorn in Nebraska's side.
Yeah, that's a team that it's like anytime Nebraska makes a push in the league, it's like here comes mighty Northwestern. I know they're down this year. They're not as powerful as they have been in years past, but Nebraska goes on the road. They sweep Northwestern, and they outscore them in the process 32-4 over the 3 games. That's a statement right there.
Yeah.
So this team, like I said, they've had a great season. They're really peaking right now.
It's interesting, too, because they've been able to kind of hold it down at home. I think they're 10-1 maybe at home, and when you're looking up at Oregon and UCLA, obviously really good softball programs, man, winning at home is obviously pretty critical, and they've answered the dinner bell.
Yeah, winning at home is critical no matter what, especially in the sport of softball. And sadly, Nebraska just doesn't have a whole lot of home games, period.
I know.
It's a smaller home schedule. And unfortunately for those girls, the weather for the home series it hasn't been great. In fact, I only think that they have 4 or 5 home games left.
Yep.
And so it's kind of gone in the blink of an eye. And if you're a fan that has kind of been kicking the can down the road of, when can I watch Jordy? When can I watch this team? You're running out of opportunities. They're home Friday and Saturday of this week. Hopefully the weather cooperates. But yeah, I don't think that hosting a regional is really in the stratosphere right now. They're probably going to be on the road for the NCAA tournament, which is unfortunate. That's just kind of the way that the points all lay out. I would expect them to be away from Lincoln. So really there's only a few more chances to watch this team play. It's been a blast though. And they have held serve at home.
Yeah, because I think Indiana's here and Washington is in Washington, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And if DB, you mentioned, some of the teams at the top of the league. Any other year without the additions to the Big Ten, Nebraska is leading the Big Ten, and they're probably the unquestioned best team in the league.
Yeah.
But because you have Oregon in there now, and you've got it just looks at UCLA. It just looks a little bit different, but still, they're having a great year. And I appreciate you bringing up softball first here, DB.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I think UCLA and Oregon, what do they have? 10 losses between the two or 9? I think 40-5 and either 39-5 or 39-4. I mean, that's just flat out gaudy.
Is it not similar to women's basketball?
Yeah.
That Nebraska has a really good year, but there's mighty UCLA.
There's those 2
and there's
teams on the
USC.
West Coast, right?
Yes. Right. The Pac-12 teams. If they're in the Pac-12, the picture looks totally different.
I mean, 40 wins.
Yeah, they've got 9 losses between them.
Okay.
40-5 and 38-4.
I mean, what are we talking about here?
It's not bad.
Yeah. So do you think that those schools are practicing indoors on, December 4th?
No. They're probably
February
outside
4th?
on Christmas.
Exactly right. It's kind of apples and oranges here.
Okay, are you going to allow me to celebrate 2 wins in a row for Nebraska baseball, or are you going to throw water on my little smoldering fire?
I'm going to let you celebrate because have you guys looked at the RPI today?
Yes, here they come. And
Nebraska's up 8 spots in the RPI.
Yep, here they come, and still has Kansas coming up next week too. So another chance for a good one.
We've talked about this before. Kansas and Kansas State, both top 40 RPI teams right now. These midweek games, massively important for Nebraska for what they want to do long-term in the season. But, yeah, if we rewind and look at, a Sunday win at Iowa and a road win at Creighton on Tuesday, go for it. I mean, you can spin it however you want. You can throw the water and say whatever on those games. Look at the overall record. Nebraska's still under 500. You can also look at it like, hey, there's a border school you just beat, and there's an in-state rival you just beat. And there's a little bit of momentum here at a critical juncture in the season. Nebraska still needs to stack wins, but you look at the opportunities for big wins, and the last 2, I would contend, are pretty big wins for Nebraska.
So do you think Nebraska found their closer?
Oh, without question.
Okay.
I just wish you had more opportunities to close games.
That is the trick there.
They're going to kind of have to play in such a way where they're close. Because Luke, he's been tough.
Yeah, they knew that when they got him too, out of JUCO. He was one of the top JUCO players, regardless of position. And Nebraska got him, and I think that he really got lost in the shuffle with Cale Frost and some of the other portal additions that they brought in. But man, when they hand the ball over to Broderick, the game's pretty much done. He's got electric stuff, and I think that long term, as long as he stays healthy, he's got a very bright future. He could make a run in the pros. I have no question about that in my mind.
Kevin, not to pee in everybody's Cheerios about a 2-game winning streak here, but have you seen anything?
But he will.
Well, I'm trying to play a little M&M here, back to reality.
Oh, well played.
I'm wondering if you saw anything, because they did drop 2 to Iowa before they got the last one. Did you see anything that actually makes you believe their turning it around, or that they're improving in ways that are translatable, or
Pitching.
is it just like hoping? I mean, didn't they give up to 11 to Iowa the day before? Like, what are we talking about here?
Wet blanket.
Like, yeah, they pitch good sometimes. Everybody pitches good sometimes.
Old Denny Downer over here. Kev, help me out.
You get what I'm asking, Kevin?
I do. I'm trying to figure out how I want to play this year. Do I want to continue to pee in your Cheerios, or do I want to try to punch some sunshine here?
Well, just
because there's an argument both ways. Yeah. I saw encouraging signs in Iowa. What? One of the games was 1-0.
Yep.
I mean, they pitched really well.
That's the opener. Yeah, that was the opener.
Yeah, you got a great outing out of Will Walsh. So, like, that'll play any day of the week. It just happened to be against the best team in the Big Ten at the moment, and they didn't have the offense to come with it. It's just a matter of when it comes together, and they have the pieces. Dylan Carey, if he can stay on a hitting heater, I mean, that's going to be.
Oh,
a
he's a
difference maker
streaky son of a gun, isn't he?
He is, man. But when he is good, when he's locked in, that's a game changer for that lineup, because I think so far at the top, you kind of know what you're going to get with Case Sanderson, and Riley Silva is still going to get on base for you. It's about, like, what can you do in the meat of the order right now, and if DC can see it well and continue to hit it well, you get some run support for this improved pitching staff. Not to mention Tucker Timmerman's back for Nebraska, and that's a huge arm out of the pen. And the bullpen has been a little bit hot and cold and pretty inconsistent throughout the year. Just getting one guy back that's a bulldog on the mound, and my goodness, if I'm a teammate of a guy like Tucker Timmerman, who took a screamer to the face and then a couple months later is back on the mound, that probably does something to me mentally and emotionally in the game, and that's all for the better. And that's that grit that the Goodwill Bolt teams have had, and I think some fans have questioned throughout the course of this season. So the return of Tucker Timmerman may have a pretty substantial effect on this team, and it goes far beyond what he can do with throwing balls and strikes.
I hate to do this, but I do think you have to start thinking brooms this weekend with Northwestern, right? I mean, you've got to really start to get on a roll against a program that I think you're better than, where I think 3 is the number, right? You're not just trying to win this weekend. Yes, you are, but I think you have to be thinking, man, let's see if we can get on a roll here.
Yeah, three. Of course, you want 3. I think you're still fine if you get 2. If you lose the series, then here, look out for the tailspin, right?
Yeah.
But if you're looking for the number, I don't know that you have to set your eyes at 3, but you in the back of your mind, it's attainable, because these two teams are pretty similar, guys. Nebraska's behind Northwestern in the league by 2 games.
Yeah.
However, Nebraska's played a tougher schedule, and overall record, again, Wildcat schedule not as difficult as Nebraska. They're almost identical. Both teams right around 500, just a smidge below. So asking for a sweep out of that might be a little bit of a tough ask, but it's possible. I think just get 2 of 3, continue to try to climb a little bit, and they just need to get themselves within the next couple of weeks in a spot where they are in the Big Ten tournament field, so hopefully they can breathe a little bit easier down the stretch. I don't know that this team's DNA, if their backs are up against the wall, I just don't know how they're going to handle that. The upcoming 2 series, pretty huge for Nebraska.
Yeah, I'm getting killed for even intimating sweep, so just shows you where people's expectation level is, Kevin.
Well, I mean, when you've only won 5 conference games
knock it
all year,
off.
winning 3 in a row is asking a lot.
Peeing and Cheerios again, Ravi. Way to go.
Yeah.
Sorry for bringing a little realism to the program here today.
One of the guys that can't hit the big old circle in his own bathroom. He's getting over here to the cereal. That's fine.
Kevin, we'll get you out of here on this. What were your thoughts on John Butler yesterday as he came to the podium? Talked a lot about physicality. Talked a lot about that secondary as well. I asked this of Brian Christopherson earlier, but like when you hear things about the way they're talking, has it changed your expectation level? Does it shift what you're looking for moving forward at all?
No, I didn't get a whole lot out of it outside of the fact that, this is a guy that's all ball. He opened up his press conference with an attempt at some humor. So I appreciate that. That was great. He was wearing the cap, talking about the skullet. And at first, like, where's this coming from? But it was good. It was in fun. Yeah. If you want to talk X's and O's with Butler, he can keep you in a room for a long time. and he broke form a little bit. So I appreciate that. He snuck in the fact that they feel like they're pretty good at the two deep right now. I don't know. That just kind of came and went, I feel like. But it just goes to show that there's an upper crust with this defense and what he's looking at right now.
Yeah.
That's our guy, Kevin Sjuts, 10-11 News in Lincoln. Kevin, appreciate the time as always, and hope you enjoy hopefully you enjoy a sweep this weekend.
Oh, here we go. Kevin, I just appreciate the range. And after they go 3-0 this weekend, man, we're gonna air high five.
And if they go 1-2 or 0-3, Ravi is going to do what?
I will not be here on
I'll
Monday.
be sad. I
Sit
want him to
back
make
in
the
his
Big
chair
Ten.
and cross his arms.
No, I would love it if they made the Big Ten tournament. I'm just trying to not to live in La La Land over here. I live on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Just
Get your two. Get your two, and then just go from there.
All right. It's like the theme in Top Gun or whatever. Meet me halfway. All right. We'll
There
do
you
that,
go.
Kev.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. Be well, guys.
That's Kevin Sjuts, 10-11 News Lincoln.
Meet me halfway.
Is that from Top Gun?
Across the sky. I don't know.
Shane, is that from Top Gun?
I just said Top Gun. That's in Top Gun, right, Shane? I don't know. I don't want to go out on a limb and have Daniel
It doesn't seem like it was on the soundtrack.
Kenny Loggins?
Yeah, it is Kenny Loggins.
Is that Kenny G?
No.
Is that Kenny Rogers? Is
Kenny Lofton.
that Kenny Hill?
Yeah, him too.
Is that King the Hill?
There is a good Kenny in Lincoln.
Kenny.
He's actually helping return punts too.
Niamatololo?
Yeah, him too.
Big Kenny Niamatololo guy.
But
South Park Kenny?
Those bastards.
Better you than me.
We'll be back more at Sports Live.
Clear.
Yeah, I mean, you want a competitive room. You want a lot of players that can be on the field. I think it pushes everybody to be better every day. And I think even in that competition, there's still love with each other. And I think that also makes it so that, when somebody else has a success, the other players that play that position aren't upset about it. They're happy about it, and it drives and motivates them to want to succeed as well. So, we've got a great room, a lot of talented players. And, there's daily competition to make each other better.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
In our room, we don't really focus on the outside noise. People can say what they want about us. They can doubt us. They can praise us, but we're not going to let it affect what we do. We lost 3 starters. We lost 3 guys who produced a lot. But at the end of the day, every team loses people, I think. No one, as much as I love them, no one's irreplaceable. Everyone's different in their own ways. And we have a great group coming back this year. People are stepping up to be leaders. You got new guys who are coming along great, just learning how to play together and gel together. It's a different room, but I'm loving where we're at. I'm very confident in us. We have depth, we have talent, and we have energy. It's fun. So Yeah, it's weird the first few days out there when we don't have those guys, Ty, Nash, Jamari, that, for me, they're all I know. They've been here for 2 years with me. So it was a little weird at first, but then once you get through winter without them, you see people stepping up, taking into their new role, and then you get to spring and it's like, you just got to go out there and play with the guys that are here. You don't think about last year, you think about what's now and what's moving forward and kind of focus on you. And back to the question, like the voice outside, people, like I said, people can doubt us, but we know what we got inside our defensive line room, and we're going to worry about what we do and keep it at that.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla, and while the Masters may be over, there's another Premier Golf Championship coming up. That's the Championship Omaha, presented by Sunburst Communication. It's June 12th at Quarry Oaks Golf Club in Ashland, and it's not just a golf tournament. It's Omaha's premier golf showdown for corporations. 2-player teams, no handicaps, and the chance to crown the top corporate team. Premier hospitality, elite networking, and an unforgettable experience. Make sure you give them a call, 402-333-7620 for more details on how to get involved. DB?
What do you want now, wet blanket?
I asked you a question earlier.
Denny Downer?
I'm realism. I was going all Eminem.
Again, you realist guys.
I was going Eminem. Riley Van Poppel decided to go all Beyonce with Irreplaceable.
Great song, by the way.
To the left. Don't you ever get to thinking that you're irreplaceable, Ty Robinson.
Yeah.
That's what he said, basically. Just throwing him under the bus.
And you thought I misrepresented you over the break.
I'm just kidding. That's not what he said. Anyway.
I totally made up what you said because I wanted it to.
100% did. So let's get to that, though. Because I asked you a question off the air that I thought was interesting. Because you're right. There is the differentiation between guys that make it and don't. A lot of times it's their mindset, right? So you want guys that believe maybe that they're more than they currently are and that they can be more than they currently are. Whether you're talking about a Grant Segrin, right? Who goes, hey, Coach Rule goes, hey, that guy needs to start thinking like a starter, stop thinking like a walk-on, right?
Right.
But on the other hand, you've got guys.
He said similar comments about guys like Mike Booker.
For sure. On the other hand, I look at guys that need to learn how to accept a role and need to learn how to be a part of the team with where they're at and what they can bring to the table, like we heard about with Riley Van Poppel. Mm-hmm. He thought he was going to play a lot last year, and he's like, oh, maybe I can't help you on Saturdays. What can I do the rest of the week? What can I do during lifts? What can I do during practice to help this team be better? So I'm trying to figure out how you balance. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it seems really tricky to balance believing in yourself like a Grant Segrin and saying, hey, I'm good enough to be a starter, and being a Riley Van Poppel where you say, well, I know I can be a starter, but now I have a role to play, and I have to accept that role in order to be a good teammate and to not only help myself but help my team.
So I get the two examples, but they're on polar ends of the spectrum.
They are.
So until RVP knew he was going to redshirt, he was pushing.
Sure.
Right? He was preparing to play. So I think that's a little different than a guy overcoming seemingly not knowing how good he or she could be. Because a lot of times, and I'll say this to some young players, typically it's younger guys, where I'll say, hey, I can't be your biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I need you to believe in you.
And we've heard Coach Rule talk about this before.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's different for the Booker Juniors and the Segrins of the world. That is overcoming. That's a self-awareness thing where you understand you belong, and I think that's hard for a lot of people.
I agree.
I think I think we kind of undersell that,
and not just a football thing.
100%.
Like, that's a life thing.
I think sometimes people go to their job and they question, like, am I worthy?
Did I earn this?
Am I worthy?
Should I be here?
And typically it's more of a, I'm going to stereotype here, but it's 2025 and we have all sorts of. I'm going to stay employed a little while longer. It's typically more a male thing sometimes because there's this bravado where we're constantly measuring in this culture up against the next guy.
Sure.
right? I mean, it's just kind of what we do.
Yeah, just
right?
pissing contests all the time.
All right, well, what's the phrase, right? It's a big wiener measuring contest, right?
Yeah.
And so, not that that's whatever. I'm an adult.
That's the phrase. Yeah.
I think it's hard. It's hard to when you're waiting to be that guy to know when you are that guy, because sometimes it happens real time.
Yeah.
And
you don't know you're that guy until you're the guy.
yeah, until somebody
And then you like kind of look
like
around and you're like-
designates you.
Yeah,
and
then you look around and you go,
you
"Oh."
wait for it.
Yeah. You were working for it.
Yeah, because I mean, we just want to be validated.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a tricky mindset that I think we undersell.
And I understand that part of it. I do.
It's vastly so succumbing to your role, which is kind of what you're talking about. Not succumbing, accepting your role.
Yes.
I
Which is
think-
also important.
Yeah, but here's the deal.
Yeah.
The trick is you gotta continually be trying to get better every day. So you got to get them to that point, because sometimes that's the hardest part. Because like if I'm Segrin or I'm Gatula or I'm one of these guys that isn't the guy yet before I become the guy.
Yeah, maybe Van Poppel's a bad example because
I don't love the example just because his role was already defined for him.
Yes, and it kind of changed on the fly.
Yeah.
But I don't have a good example off the top of my head.
You
but
just use me in the running back room.
Okay.
Right? Do you think I didn't know LP was the better runner?
Okay.
Certainly not going to change the way I go to work, though.
Yeah, so I'm actually thinking about something a little different in the sense of guys that think they're the guy or should be the guy, but aren't. So I'm almost going the opposite of a Segrin, right?
Okay.
Where how do you get that guy? Because
that's a great question.
Because like he's got an unearned confidence.
Do you know what that is?
What's that?
It's what Coach Butler talked about that I was so happy about, with the parameters in which you need to have to be able to function at a high level to be a contributor.
Yeah.
Clearly well defined.
Yeah.
The common language, high pointing balls, tackling. Are you dependable?
Physical.
Are you physical?
And I think he's threw toughness in there too.
When those traits are constantly talked about, and I kind of said this in passing before I even knew this was going to come up later. Remember I said, see, it's easier, those common language, it builds in accountability.
Yeah.
Because I can sit in a meeting and clearly you're talking to a guy that thought he should have been the man, especially after the spring my junior year. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
What we talking about? Stop playing favorites with this dude. Right? Like I would say those things, which is a wonder that I got to be a captain the next year because but I stopped talking so much. Anyway, to myself. I said.
Stop talking so much.
Exactly. My mom just would say, would you just be quiet? Not everybody has to know what you're. Oh, yeah, they do.
And look what line of work you got into.
And I was afraid to do it.
Now everybody has to know what you're thinking.
But I say that to say, like, when the culture, it's a combination of things that they've been talking about. Because the culture dictates itself. Like, you can look around and know if you're subpar.
Sure.
And I don't mean subpar as in talent level. I mean subpar as in
Not living up to the expectations.
Yeah. Are you maximizing?
Yeah.
So
Are you doing all the things?
That's why the dirty C word has to come first.
Yeah.
Because you got to be able to look around. And the players,
that's not how we do things here.
Yep. And they've gotten really good at it.
Yeah.
That was my number one takeaway from the first couple of practices is like, man, that guy's got to know that at this position, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
Right. And some guys are going to really struggle with that because even guys that are like the standard bearers, sometimes they don't know how to relay the information correctly.
Sure.
So they have to learn
so they can live the example, but it's hard to.
Right. We should have been
example.
better. I should have been better with like Brian Knuckles. Right. Brian Knuckles, this all-world junior college guy, came out of Coffeyville, real quiet, super dude. He was supposed to be amazing. And he's a good player, but wasn't like he had a hard time getting acclimated to being around other really good players.
Which you don't always have at junior colleges.
So
It's a different environment.
So it was tough, and it's like B-Nuck, like, man, go get, like, just be better. Like, you're capable. But then after a while, it was like, man, come on, man, you don't, like.
You get tired of telling a guy that, right?
Right. So it's as important for
The
standard bearers as it is, because not everybody can be a leader. Sometimes you got to be a good follower too. And so in a group,
But sometimes you got to drag people along a little bit.
you do
for a while.
You do, and
that's what I'm bad at.
Okay, so because it has a threshold.
Yeah, because I'm at a certain point, I'm over it.
And you just don't try to predict it. Free yourself up to exhaust all options until you feel like you don't have any more to give. Now, it's different.
That's different for everybody.
But you can still own yours.
Sure, yeah.
Right? You just own your own epic. And so, you know, for those DBs, they are hard on each other. Right? But they know, like, the standard is the standard. Where even a guy like Deshaun, who hasn't historically been a mat drills guy, right? You come back and you're kind of this guy and you're super physically gifted. Like, hey, man, turn it up a notch.
Right? You got to be good at the things you don't like.
Yeah, turn it up a notch. Or, you know, if I'm Malcolm Hartzog and I'm finally feeling healthy, like, what's the next phase for me? It certainly isn't what I bring to the table on the day-to-day, because I'm really good at going to work and doing my job. I lay it on the line all the time, and I do what's asked of me. What's next? You know what was next for Malcolm? Investing in other people. That's the next phase. Because when you start to do stuff like that, the guys around you that are trying to assume their role, see, they know, and it reveals itself. A Quinn Clark can say to me, I can say, Q, man, what happened? Man, I ain't gonna lie, DB, your boy couldn't get lined up this week. Where does that standard come from? He didn't make that up. The standard was, hey, man, if you want to play and be ready to go,
figure out how to get lined up.
Get lined up correctly.
Well, we saw it in.
And when you clearly set the expectation level, which I love, that's why I'm all in on Butler's. He was very clear.
That is a fine line.
He was very clear on what it takes. And whether you think you are or not, you can have those open conversations and be starting from the same place. Hey, let's talk physicality. Hey, let's talk dependability. Hey, let's talk tackling. Hey, let's talk making plays when you have the opportunity. So you have a common frame of reference, even though the skill sets may vary within the people that you're talking to. So for Segrin, let's say, for instance, if Coach Rule says to him, and it's, who knows exactly what he's talking about, but when Coach Rule says something like, hey, man, he's just got to, like, don't think like a backup. That means when it comes time to get reps, like, maybe you don't let somebody go in front of you. Or when they're looking for a volunteer, maybe you're the first up. Or maybe it's just drawing attention to yourself because you want to be, hey, coach, hey, can I get that? Can I go against him? Sometimes it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, well, those three guys always go first.
No, the starters go first. I'm going to.
You know what I mean?
I'll wait my turn.
Now, you do go with a unit, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm this group and that group. So you're not just
going
to be like, hey, I want to. But there are things that can let me know as a coach that
you think you're ready.
Yeah. I remember Bryson Williams did no thing on offense. Hey, I think I can help out. Is what do I have to do to play on offense? Tell your coach, right? Just go over there and tell Coach Ray. Say, listen, man, I think this is starting to come to me. See, and all of a sudden, I think of Bryson differently because he's not this quiet guy that's just kind of going along to get along. Oh, he's got a little something in there, and that's all it really took. Like, I know you're brand new here, and these guys are really good, but if you feel you belong, hey, man, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
So, like, that's part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's hard because sometimes guys feel defeated, and we undersell feeling defeated even at that stage. There's two guys I can think of that play on the second level defensively.
that they've tried to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
They just refuse to go away.
So when you say
so that's the antithesis of that's the opposite
of
of
feeling
it. Like,
defeated.
yeah, just the irrational sense of I'm better than that guy.
Yeah.
Right. So
So
I can help you.
Yes. So that's kind of where, because those are two different things, right?
Yeah, and I shouldn't have said, you're right. Because the
Because
guy
the
that thinks
first thing
he's
that I'm
better, the guy that thinks he's better than that
Is
guy
the problem I'm
is a
talking
problem. Can be a problem.
Is the problem I'm talking
Is a
about.
problem. And I can't tell you, I can't clearly or like articulate like when it happens. But at some point I knew I wasn't better than LP.
Yeah.
So I stopped thinking that. But I started to think.
But that didn't mean you thought you couldn't help.
Yeah, because you know what I could say?
Yeah.
This is clear as mud. I'd say I could do that.
Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, there's certain run plays I'm better at.
I could do that.
He might be physically better than me, but I'm better at.
I could do that.
Outside.
And I would know, like if I saw something, I'm like, damn, that was. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
But
so you also had guys, like I'm sure you had guys on your team that thought they were better than they were.
Yes.
Those are the guys that,
yeah,
like that's that fine line that's a problem.
Yeah,
that it can be a problem.
So the way that you offset that is you have to have those open lines of communication, and I think that's why I said this is really what I meant the other day when I said when Coach Rule left himself no wiggle room when he openly said, "Hey, if you think I'm not being upfront with you or I've lied to you, then okay." So he's saying right then and there, he's willing to have those conversations with you. And he's going to tell you the truth. You just have to be willing to receive it, too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Do you really want – my dad used to always tell me, don't ask the questions that you don't want to know the answers to.
Yeah.
I had to seriously think about the depth of that.
Yeah. Because we think we always want the answers.
Yeah.
But we want the answers we want to hear.
Yeah. Can you handle what comes back at you?
Can you handle the answer regardless of what it is?
So, like, that's the next step. And I think it's critical, Ravi, if – Nebraska wants to be the team that they want to be in 25.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way you get the bottom closer to the middle and the middle closer to the top. Because that's what they need. It's not a top up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bottom to the middle and a middle to the top. And that's the way that you win with smaller numbers. It has to be like that at the university because that's one thing I think that's sustainable. And then you worry about top 10, top 12 classes.
Yeah.
I mean, they win 10 games at some point in the next year or two, they will have a top 10 class.
Yeah.
They just will. They have the resources and they have the recruiting acumen.
Well, and you see the guys that they're in on, like that. They get in the
that are
door
worried
with.
about whether they can win or not.
Yeah, that they miss out on for that.
I don't. Nebraska can recruit, and I know you said this early, and I kind of laughed at you. You're like they should be in the top 10 or 12 every year, and I'm like, well, they haven't been. It's not even realistic. You're like, they're not that far off now. And you went through all the statistics of recruiting and where they'd been, which I was impressed with. I was like, I know you're not just a windbag. But they could hover around that top 10 spot. I truly believe that. Because you can go get guys out of critical states.
Mm-hmm.
You can lock up your own areas. And you have the resources.
Yeah. Well, the resources are going to be, especially now, they're going to be.
And the acumen, too. The way that he's built the departments for acquisition and retention, I think quietly is going to serve them really, really well. When you free up the Keith Williams and the Avery Gossetts and the Troy Vincent Juniors and those guys on the recruiting side and the talent evals and pit them with your general manager, your contract folks, it's just a nice blend because everybody can play to their strengths. Then you can attack the portal, you can look at roster content, and then you can assess your values, and it's real time. So that part they're ahead of.
You know what?
They're ahead of.
Yeah.
Really needing to make tough decisions. But
they got the infrastructure in place.
But they're already prepared.
So, you've said something for the last year or so about, hey, like once they start to win, like he's going to turn into a monster.
I truly believe that.
And I was like, I could see that because obviously I have my expectations about what they can be as a recruiting program. But one of the things that I hadn't really thought about, I can't remember who it was. It was a guy from Florida. I don't remember if it was a recruit or a current player that we heard from recently. But he talked about how, oh man, they got a bunch of them Florida boys up here.
Mhm.
And you're talking about how, whether it's Shavers and McGahee and Tarver and Sanders and all of these Florida, Cortez Mills and Ja'Cory Barney, all these Florida guys that are up here now, right?
Yeah.
And, we talk about it not being a place that people want to call home and people don't want to leave. But what we haven't really talked about is if it's all those things and then you win a little bit, it becomes a place that everybody that's from where you're from now wants to go.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Right? Like that's a different level of it that we haven't really talked about yet.
And there's so many examples within the examples. See the running back room.
Mhm.
Right now there's these questions, does Nebraska need, and we just talked about, so two things have happened quietly in the running back room. We now kind of think of Emmett Johnson like Mike Rozier. And we like that.
Yeah.
But without another guy, because we heard, Ives this or Ives that, as the two were like, Ives, do we need another running back?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I don't know about our depth. Parker isn't practicing. He's talking about Connor Booth. Do we need one more?
Mm-hmm.
So those two things happen at once, right? So if I'm a Mekhi Nelson, aka Grant Seagren, a guy that you don't want to settle, go get the next guy ahead of you. Keep practicing every day. How fine of a line is it for a guy like Mekhi Nelson to think? I mean, he's a really good example of what you're talking about, because I could see where
Can I play a role versus I'm better than that guy?
Yeah, he's that's an interesting case study,
especially because the guys ahead of him aren't like they're not Lawrence Phillips,
right?
You know
I
what
know. No,
Like,
I'm with.
Emmett Johnson is gettable.
Yeah.
Like whatever we think about him, he's gettable in terms of being.
Now
chased
that
down.
I don't know about. I don't know.
Do you
man.
think the talent difference between Emmett Johnson and Mekhi Nelson
So
is vast?
there's a couple of things that Emmett brings to the table that I think we are underselling. His capacity to do the same thing at a high level over and over again is different than anybody else in that room.
Fair.
That is hard
And
to
that's an ability. It is.
That is hard to replicate. Like that guy can be an 8 all the time,
which is super valuable.
Oh,
I'd rather have that than a
Yeah.
4 to a 10 to a 3 to a 9. Yes.
So he's different.
Totally fair.
Okay, he's because I think that's the hardest part.
Just doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. For most people.
I've said this for years because I've been on both ends of it. I mean this. Being great is just being good all the time.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, you see it in.
That's it.
You see it in what we do. Like lots of people can fill in for a show. Do it every day.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I don't know if I would. I mean, I have a little. You're more confident in our abilities than I am, but
Well, I'm not.
I
Just,
get that.
not even just
right.
like our ability.
Yeah,
Just like
to
in this industry.
Yeah,
being
to
able,
replicate big entertainment every day as opposed to
just a one-off here or there.
Yeah,
like
it's-
it's different. It's
it's
just a
tough.
different thing, right? And so maybe Emmett Johnson is. Maybe he's gettable, maybe he's not. But if you look at Mekhi and you go, okay, I can do a lot of things that he does.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're looking at just a bit like running ability, right? Does Mekhi Nelson look at him and goes, "Oh, I can do that."
Yeah,
I can do that.
He's as gifted a natural runner as they have in that room.
That's what I mean, right?
So he has to reconcile in his
Can
head.
I be an 8 every day?
Yep. And that is the thing with him. Like, can I handle the rigor?
Yeah.
Can I take care of my body enough? Can I attack each play? When I'm not in, can I steal a mental rep? When it comes to pass, like all the little things.
But if you're just sitting there and you're Mekhi and you're watching Emmett,
I could see where he could say,
well, I can do that.
I could do that.
And I can do that.
I agree with
and
you.
I'm a little better at that.
I
and I can do that.
It's emotional maturity.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's a guy where it is. That is probably a tough line for him
Yeah.
to understand. Okay, I can be better or as good at all of these different things as the guy that's the unquestioned starter and still understand.
So
that,
there are two rooms where I think that's the most difficult.
Okay.
What two rooms do you think what you're describing
I would say
would rear their head the most?
I would say the two places where you play the least amount of people, and that would be quarterback and running back.
See, I think it's running back and wide receiver.
See, wide receiver,
Wide receiver, there's a lot of like guys that
Sure.
are only separated
Fair.
by.
Fair.
I think wide receiver would be very tough at this stage. But the saving grace that they have is the parameters are so. There's just no wiggle room.
They're so well defined.
Very well defined.
Here's my-
There is no gray about what they're looking for.
Here's my only thing with receivers is you're going to play enough guys that if you're that close, you'll probably get a shot. Probably.
Yeah. But again, to your point, if I'm Cortez Mills,
and you're looking at
Ja'Cory Barney,
and you go, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I can do that.
Even though
and I can do that.
even though the comp is terrible because Barney is vastly
Different types of players.
I'm just saying as a receiver that's wide receiver 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or they're all ones if you're in a 4 receiver package or a 3 receiver package. But I mean, Mills may want in.
Yeah.
He may say, you know what, man? Hunter. No, I could do that. Or so it's a very fine line. And that's what I mean when I say you can cheer for somebody even though it's at your own expense while you're still trying to own your craft. And I didn't cheer for Lawrence because I wasn't competitive. I cheered for Lawrence because I loved him.
Yeah.
Right? I want the best for him.
Right.
And none of the magic is going to happen for them in this competitive era of NIL and portaling and roster fluctuation if you don't have if you can't be other-centered.
Yeah.
It's going to be virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Because for as talented as Ohio State was, we didn't start to fall back in love with Ohio State until they started to show some continuity and chemistry.
Can I tell you the exact moment it was for me?
Sure.
I believe it was after the Big Ten championship game when they when they said, hey, we're riding with Coach Day. You people are crazy.
Yeah. I could see that.
That's the first time I was like, oh, they like each other.
I could see that.
Because a lot of the year we talked about this. We talked about this all year. We go, are they just so talented it's not going to matter?
And they fixed the coaching thing on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, they got on the same page. But how much time all year do we say, are they just so talented it's not going to matter? And then finally.
And it looked disjointed.
It looked disjointed all year, and it was a lot of transfer guys. And you're kind of looking at it like, I don't really know how this works. And, we saw Will Howard kind of wet the bed at the end of the game against Oregon the first time. And you're like, what does this really do? And then you have the Michigan thing. And you're like, oh, this team is, Michigan beat them because they're more cohesive. They're a better team. And then you look at it after the, I don't know, it was one of their, because they didn't play in the Big Ten championship, or they did. I think it was after the Big Ten championship. Yeah. They go, hey, we were doing this for Ryan Day, for Coach Day, because people are out there talking crazy about if we don't win a national championship that he's going to get fired. And we're riding with this guy. That's the first time I ever thought, even for a moment, that this team was gelled and cohesive and together.
And it so turns out that they played a team that wasn't near as talented, but equally as gelled.
That the cohesiveness
which was Notre Dame.
Was
you can do it a couple of different ways.
And if you are as good on the cohesiveness side, then talent's probably going to win.
Yeah.
But talent
because you're making the case with going back to the Draymond Green clip and what I told you about Nebraska winning close games, and you think the more even the talent is, the more
the cohesiveness matters.
Yeah.
And it'll overcome talent at certain points, right? There's certain 2014 NBA Finals. LeBron, Wade, Bosh playing a
Mavericks. Is that the Mavericks?
That was 11.
Okay.
14 was the Spurs.
Oh yeah. And they got annihilated.
Mediocre Spurs team.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking Danny Green almost won Finals MVP.
Duncan didn't play good until
Duncan
the
was
last
ancient,
15 games.
And he was ancient, right? It was before Kawhi became Kawhi. You're talking old Manu, old Tony Parker. This is an ancient team
I'll ride
with
that.
great role players that everybody knew what their spot was and everybody knew what they were supposed to do and everybody knew what they weren't supposed to do. I mean, you had Chago Splitter was playing real minutes for that team, and that's a disaster. But they beat the living hell out of the Heat in 5 games, just destroyed them. And it was not particularly close, I believe, in the last 3, because that was a team where the cohesiveness overcame the talent gap. And there was a talent gap there. So at a certain point, the cohesiveness can overcome the talent. But the closer you get, so if let's say Nebraska's not as talented as who in the Big Ten? Ohio State and Oregon. Who else? Who else clearly has more talent than Nebraska? Are you putting USC in that category?
No.
Okay. Are you putting
especially after
Michigan in that category?
Yes.
Okay, so 3 teams. Penn State, are they in that category?
Yes. Penn State is uber talented.
Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon.
Yep.
There are 4 teams better than Nebraska in an 18-team league, okay? So let's say 5 through 10 are probably in Nebraska's range talent-wise.
Fair.
The difference between what's been Iowa, Wisconsin,
It's
Minnesota.
It's clearly Iowa's superpower.
Yes. It might be the only thing they're good at.
It's clearly Iowa's
On a
superpower.
year in, year out basis.
They are significantly better culturally than Nebraska, and it shows up almost every single year.
It might be
every
the
single
only
game.
thing they can consistently hang their hat on.
that,
I know
like-
their defense is good really good most years. I know
Yeah,
their
and
special
you're
teams are
talking
really-
about the intangibles.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they're clearly.
But it might be the only thing that really matters.
I mean, you could make the case, and I wouldn't fight you over it, that they're the best in the league.
I think you could make the case they're the best in the country.
I mean, certainly up there.
They're in the conversation, right? Now, I would say Notre Dame's coming on strong, but Iowa's got a track record of it, right? Where they've consistently outperformed their talent because of culture, cohesiveness, cohesion, whatever you want to call it, right? So when you're in that, and that they're a team where they're probably talent-wise closer to the bottom third of the league, and they perform in that second tier.
So the reason I disagree with that is because of the guys they get drafted.
They're phenomenal at development. I'm talking about when they come in.
Yeah.
When they come in, they're probably bottom third of the league in a lot of scenarios in terms of the guys they bring in. Now, phenomenal at drafting, or phenomenal at development, phenomenal at identity, so they know what they're looking for, and they're very stingy on offer, so they know exactly what they're looking for, right? But you're right. The development by the time they leave, yeah, they're not bottom third of the league anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that makes the entire difference for them is the fact that their culture, cohesiveness, all of that is maybe the best in the country. It's up there. It's definitely top 10. And I don't have a list off the top of my head, so I feel like 10 might even be too aggressive. It's probably less than that.
Yeah, I just, and I get it. It's the off season, and people will roll their eyes, and people hate talking about culture. But for the University of Nebraska, that it needs to be their superpower, especially for how this staff is trying to do this thing.
Mhm.
Look at the things that they talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, they're telling you what's going to matter, and it's going to be the way that they offset the freedom of movement and the volatility in the next couple of years. Like, do you think, like with Nebraska, I don't love the example because they're not going to pay a guy, they're not going to invest in somebody that they don't or are reluctant to cut ties with.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole Nico thing, and everybody's losing their mind. Like, Nebraska's not going to find themselves in that situation. And it's not because they can't get a guy the caliber of Nico Iamaleava.
I mean, they literally did the next year. Like Dylan was the exact same caliber.
It's because they're not going to play that game.
Yeah, they're not going to put themselves in that position.
And I'm telling you, sure as I'm sitting here, the unintended positive of the Nico thing is coaches and general managers and institutions will choose more wisely.
They're clawing back low power. They're clawing back low power.
You need something like that. What I tell you about water, right?
It's
It's going to find its level. And so this is what's wrong with cotton. No, this is what's good because coaches have to learn too.
Yeah.
I told you, I go back and I listened to Kirby Smart the other day.
Mm-hmm. He's learning on the fly.
Oh, he's beside himself right now.
Yeah.
Right? You think that guy isn't searching for a little more continuity? You're asking your guys how many of you have gone through 3 spring practices here and barely anybody's raising their hand?
And you know what's crazy for him? And I think this is actually good for Nebraska, is that guy had it figured out under the last system. Yeah. He had it. He'd beaten it.
Yep.
He'd beaten the same thing with Dabo. Dabo had the previous system beat. Kirby had the previous system beat. Nick Saban had the previous system beat.
Yeah.
And now they don't. So Nebraska has an opportunity.
And I'm not, hear my heart, I'm not saying they're playing for, I mean, they got to win 9 games.
100%.
Right? But what I am saying is
opportunity.
The infrastructure, they're ahead of the game in terms of establishing how you want to do business so you can do business going forward. That means as a player, as a program. Like I said, if they win, this is a terrible analogy, but it works because it's terrible because the sports are different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, you want to see a program where if you want to fit in, you got to get in where you fit in,
Mm-hmm.
and things are slotted, and the culture is in such a way that you can do it this way or go do it someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
It's Creighton basketball.
Mm.
Listen, what it's Creighton basketball.
Yeah.
You can come here, and hey, this is what we're gonna do for you, but these are my non-negotiables, and this is the way that we do basketball.
Mm.
You better decide if this is for you or it's not, because as Coach Mack, I'm not compromising. It's my favorite thing about him.
Mm-hmm.
He just is not even in this day and age, he's not putting up with the BS.
Yeah.
He's not. He made his offer to Dix. He's just not.
Yeah,
so
take it or leave it. Like, this is what we offer. You know what we bring to the table.
that's what I'm saying. If Nebraska could win enough, they will be a monster because the rest of the stuff is in place. They still are going to recruit the same guys. That they still will go after David Sanders Jr.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question.
Yeah, but they'll land him.
Those guys, not only will they land him, when they get them, they'll know what kind of environment they're stepping into.
Yeah, they know what they're buying into.
I'm telling you.
You know what? And to land the plane, for me at least, if you've got all that infrastructure and everything and culture and cohesion and all that in place, and then you start recruiting that way, you know what you look a lot like? Michigan 2 years ago.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Right? I mean, that's what it looks like if you recruit at that level.
That's the goal.
And have everything else in place.
You got to get out of that 5, 6, 7 win neighborhood. You got to win enough games where you can reap the benefits of doing all the tilling.
Yeah.
Because they did the hard part early.
You just need it to rain a little bit.
Right?
You just need a little bit of rain.
Yeah. Right now they're dealing with the mud.
Go make it rain. That's DB. I'm Ravi. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Yeah, and how special is it for you to be back in Nebraska and just be a part of this Cornhusker program again?
I can't even tell you. I had no idea what I was really getting into. I'd never met Coach Rulla before. And coming back here, I'm just so thankful and just I prayed a lot about it, and all my prayers have been answered so far, and I cannot wait for next season.
Yeah, so what were your initial conversations with Rulla to get you back over to Nebraska?
Well, it started off with Will Compton. When Coach made the change, literally Will Compton called me like 30 seconds later and said, "Eck, you need to go home, man. You need to go back." He goes, "What do you do it?" And I said, I'd think about it. So he said, "I'm calling Coach Rulla." So that's how it kind of started. So Will Compton it's ironic because he was the first player I ever recruited as a full-time coach when I was here at Nebraska. And so it kind of came back full circle.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball story is a story of growth and success. After getting to visit the team this fall and watching practice and talking with Coach G, I am confident in this team this year.
The best you is really dang good. I mean, it's really good. Okay? So just be that. No more, no less.
Lightning in my fingers, and I'm nice on my feet. Heavyweight big swinger, got you saying double while the counting to three.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball are built for big moments.
Brace yourself.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
The right-hander ready for the third consecutive 3-2 pitch. Here it is. Strike three, called in her half. And that's going to do it. Save number 8 for Broderick is elite. And the Huskers beat Creighton tonight. And the final score from Omaha, Nebraska 6, Creighton 3.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Just like Nico's always trying to get that bag, fraudsters are constantly seeking ways to obtain your personal information through text messages, emails, phone calls, and more. Knowledge is one of the best defenses, one of the only defenses, really, you have against them. Centris Federal Credit Union has the tools and resources you need to recognize scams, protect your accounts, and act quickly if necessary. Visit the Member Protection Center at centrisfcu.org to learn more about the latest scams and how to safeguard yourself and your financial accounts. Federally insured by NCUA at centrisfcu.org.
No disrespect to my guys on FS1 last night, but Husker Radio Network significantly better.
I thought both radio calls were better
than what I was doing on television.
I caught a little bit of the Creighton radio call as well, and then of course you have Nebraska radio.
Who had the Creighton broadcast? Do you remember?
Happen, JB.
Happer?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm being on Bishop. See how we should call him today. See what he's up to.
Give him a call, see what he's doing.
See what he's doing.
He's about to start working.
That's my dude. Even though he's a terrible wingman.
He just leaves you hanging.
Sure did. Vulnerable, exposed.
He is unbothered.
We got to talk about that.
We can have a little chat with him.
I don't think he'd really care, though.
He doesn't. That's what I said. He's unbothered about everything. He's just kind of like, nah, I got to do my own thing.
Shoot. I was not. And those guys are better. There's just no juice. There's no juice in the broadcast. I need some juice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is
I mean, you're hitting a double to the gap, and it's like, hey, reaches out there. It's out in the left field. It's going to drop. Is he going to make a play for 2? In there with a double.
Get a little energy, you know?
I was like, huh. All right.
Get all juiced up a little bit.
It was crazy how Nebraska could get timely hits and Creighton couldn't get not a one.
Left a lot of guys stranded.
Nebraska left 15. 15.
It's a lot of base runners.
Yeah.
Opportunities.
But anyway, I'm not going to let you rain on my parade. Go get Northwestern Nebraska
I'm not raining
baseball.
on the parade. I'm just trying to, you know.
Who Creighton has St. John, right?
Yeah, they got St. John. They need it. They're on a little bit of a skid as well.
A little bit of a 20-12?
Yeah, I think that's right. They've lost 5 of the last 6, I think now.
Yeah, and I jinxed them too by saying that they had won 6 consecutive weekend series before they'd beat Nebraska. I'm sorry.
Ruined it. No, they got a little work to do to get in the Big East tournament. Nebraska got a little work to do to get in the Big Ten tournament. So it's time to clock in, guys.
Yeah, need to be playing in the postseason.
Punch
Is this
that clock.
is this the Jack, Shane?
Is this Tennessee Jack?
This is my friend Jack. Yes.
Jack with the great radio voice.
Absolutely.
Jack, good morning. What's up, buddy?
Hey guys, how we doing?
We're good. We're good.
Well, one good thing that's come out of the Nico deal.
What's
is
that?
They're not mad at Nebraska anymore. They found somebody else to be mad at.
Hey,
'Cause that was not pretty when that happened. Not down here. I will guarantee you. I went to the grocery store,
Uh-huh.
and I'm walking in, and all the newspaper racks are there. And that didn't make the sports page. That made the front page.
Oh, wow.
White calls Nebraska lightweight. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. So I bought one of them and read. He didn't really say it per se, but he kind of did in a roundabout way about, we're willing to play anybody, anytime kind of a thing, But anyway, it's all over with now.
So let me ask you something, Jack. Down there, they're not mad at Nico, are they? Or are they mad at Nico?
No, they're not mad at him at all. They're mad at his old man, and they're mad at that handler guy's got.
Yeah.
That's who they're pissed at. That's who's really getting raked over the coals. They think he's stupid, but they don't think that they're not mad at him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you walk away from two and a half mil, and they're talking, and and I'm reading that down here that there's teams that, they're just going to wait and see if he's going to be worth $800,000 or $1 million later on.
Yeah, it's amazing too.
I don't know that I would take him personally. If I was in the shoes of a head coach or an AD or whatever, I don't think I would take him if he made.
I told Ravi when this happens. I said, take a look at the coach that brings him in, because it's not that he's going to be untouchable. It's just that people are going to be very, very cautious. This actually may end up being a good thing for how people want to do business going forward.
I think for some people he's untouchable. I mean, do you ever think you'd hear the phrase
Tulane
pulls out of the Nico sweepstakes?
Yeah.
Of all, like Tulane?
Yeah.
You can't get Tulane on board, Nico?
I'm telling you, it's not going to be good. Nobody.
Yeah, this was not a good decision. And it's good for college football. I'm glad that people aren't just running to the gates to go get him. I mean, because that put out a bad signal.
Honestly, it's better for him too. Like this, long term, I think this could be better for him.
Yeah, we got into a little bit of a knockdown drag out yesterday, Jack, over how easy it would be to distance yourself from your parents if you felt like they weren't handling your situation correctly. Like I think Ravi wants him to be mad at his dad, and I'm like, I just don't know what the pre-existing relationship is where you could pull the plug on that. But he's clearly hurt him in this regard.
Well,
unless you're happy with the money you've already got.
Yeah.
Apparently they weren't because he wanted more.
I think Tennessee did the right thing. I mean, I'm not a Tennessee fan. I couldn't even tell you who plays hardly on their team. But the
good for you, Jack.
But I'm still Nebraska. I'm still Nebraska. I told my wife, there's no way I'm going to move to that state unless I can watch Nebraska sports. So if I can't watch that, I ain't going. You can go, but I'm not going. Anyway,
my man, you get better by the second. What do you got?
All right, here's my thing. I got two quicks for you, and then I'm going to get out of here.
Okay.
All this business about the D-line,
yeah,
I'm not the least bit worried. I remember 20-odd years ago when we graduated a couple of D tackles. I think both got drafted. And they were going to have to play a couple of redshirt guys. And then all the hand-wringing from January to September and on it went. Well, those two guys ended up being Jared Crick and Adamakan Sue. So I think things worked out all right.
Yeah.
But here's my real question. When we get to conference play, and I'm not talking special teams.
Okay.
Over under on 20 people playing on defense per game.
I'm going to take the over. Conference play, guys playing.
Conference play only.
I'll take the over. Because by then, they do tighten up the rotation a little. I'll take the over. I'll take the. I can't get Ravi to go. You and Ravi aren't really vibing right now.
I'm trying to do math. I'm trying to math in my head. It hurts my head.
You're gonna play 7 or 8 on the D line. Let's say 9, including the Jacks. You could play 3 linebackers. That's 12. Will they play 8 DBs? I don't know, Jack. That might be tougher than I think.
So if you can start 6 corners and 5 safeties, I would imagine you'll play 8 DBs because that's 11.
Well, they're probably going to play some dime. They're probably going to play some nickel. They're going to play some different packages and different situations, 3rd and 1, that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's going to be right at it, I think. I think it'll be close.
That's actually a pretty good
I think
number.
it's going to be really I think it's going to be really close. All right, fellas.
All right, Jack. I'm gonna go through the mental gymnastics in my head.
All right.
See if I can stick the landing. You too, Jack. See if I can stick the landing.
Okay, so let's just go through it real quick. You said 8 or 9 on the defensive line, including Jacks.
So I think you can play Van Poppel, Judy, Lenhart, Keona Davis,
Williams.
What Williams?
Winari.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're not counting him in the 8 or 9?
Not yet.
How are you getting to 8 or 9 without him?
Just let me.
Okay,
let me
we're
walk
at 4.
this.
I'm gonna put Winari down. Put my pinky down. So McGahee, because we're including Jacks, right?
Yep. Ochoa,
McCullough.
Yep.
Okay, that's 7.
No. So Keona,
RVP, Elijah, Cam.
I think
Ochoa.
I think Parrott can play.
Parrott, McCullough.
Yep.
I said McGahee. That's 8.
Yeah.
So
I'll give you Inwinari.
That's 9.
Although there might be another D lineman too. Mason Goldman can play.
Because if we're gonna get to 8 or 9, then we probably have to name more than 8 or 9 to actually get to that number, right?
Yeah, you need some guys
Probably
that may
like
not make the cut.
12.
And right now, I think you got a 3-man rotation inside. You've got hyphenated last name. You've got Shavers. You've got Javen Wright. And I think Gage Stenger can play. I think he will play.
Okay.
So there's 4.
Okay.
So that's 13. Yeah, I'll take over 20.
Okay.
I'll take over 20.
Because we feel comfortable with at least 11 defensive backs that can
Yeah.
play. So I mean, he said 6 and 5. I'm going 11.
It's early.
I'm just saying.
I think you can right now play 5 safeties.
So here's what I'm saying.
I think you can right now play. Like if the game started tomorrow, I'll play 11. I could get to 11.
So here's why I say that is, okay, if you're going to play some dime, that's 6 defensive backs, right?
Yeah.
So when you first said this with Jack, you said 8. You're only talking about 2 subs then.
Well, or you could move Hartzog to the nickel.
Okay.
You could move Hartzog to the nickel and bring in 1 safety.
Okay.
Which is what I think they would do.
Okay. So you think?
I think you'd move Hartzog down. You take a backer out.
Okay.
And you put in 1 more safety.
So you're talking about 11 guys to get to 8 that you would play.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think you can get to 20. I don't know if they will, but I think they can.
Yeah. When he first said it, I was like, oh yeah.
The number in my head was 18 for some reason.
I think 20 is a good number.
Like when he first said, but I don't have a good reason for that. That's the number that popped in my head was 18. Just gut reaction. I think by conference play, I don't know if all of those guys are going to play in the jack and defensive line room. That's probably where
I think you can play 3.
I think that's where I'm starting to make my cuts.
Well, you got to play 4 probably. Some version of Ochoa, McCullough, McGahee.
Yeah.
Like those guys are playing.
At least a couple of them.
No, those guys are playing.
All 3 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you're talking about 5 more guys. We know Judy and Popple and Van Poppel. So
and Keona Davis.
So that's 3. So you're talking about 2 more guys.
Yeah. You'll get there.
Cam Lenhart, I would imagine, is going to play.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I think the D-line going into fall is more about competition.
I mean, I'm the D-line homer here, so.
I don't think it's about whether they're going to be good or not.
Am I actually on an island there? Like, I'm genuinely. Have you heard anybody else be as positive as me on the defensive line?
No.
I might be wrong. I very well could be. I just didn't.
I don't want you to publicly put yourself out there. I don't have I'm being patient. You took a stance.
Yeah.
You could be right. I can't say whether you're going to be right or wrong.
No, I get
I
that.
think they have a ton of capable bodies.
That's what I'm looking at. And I'm thinking, okay.
I think they have more capable bodies this year than they did a year ago.
I think you've said it better than I have this entire time. That's exactly what I mean. I like the variety of options and the number of options they have.
I think they have more capable bodies.
Better than last year.
I just don't know how.
Now, can you replace some of the things?
And plus, and Terry may be different than TK.
Yeah.
TK might T Knight might. He had a tight rotation, and it got tighter as the season went along. Because remember, he was my super left winger at Minnesota. I mean, it was a free for all.
Yeah.
Liberal substitutions, right? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And that's a conference game though, but it was early.
It was the first. Yeah.
But to Jack's point though, L3, the longer the season goes on, the more, if they have competitive stamina, the more willing you are to play. Because all I'm basing it on is what Coach Rule said yesterday. I want to play 13 games. I want to play a lot of guys. He said, we need to be playing 13. I want to be playing the long game. I want to play a lot of guys.
You have to. He said this for 2 years. You're going to have to play a lot of guys.
So I'm going to take the over.
And you may have guys in the rotation in October that weren't in the rotation in August.
And he's very good. They're very good at keeping guys fresh.
Yeah.
I mean, look how Parrott and Ochoa and RVP late, that helped.
So that was
those guys were sneaky fresh.
That was the thing that sort of frustrated me sometimes about Knighton last year, is I felt like you probably needed to get some more guys in there in certain situations, but he obviously just didn't trust them enough, right? Because I don't know why else you wouldn't, unless sometimes, and this happens in basketball, so I'm not making an indictment here. Sometimes it gets away from you in real time.
Yeah,
where you're like, I probably would have liked to get this guy a few more snaps, or would have liked to get this guy a few more minutes, but in the heat of it, it got away from me. So that's possible.
I've been the victim. That's real.
That's a real thing.
I've been the victim of that.
I mean, listen, when you're in a game coaching, it goes so fast.
Yeah, I've gotten that call.
It goes
on the courtesy phone, and it was, hey, that's on me. And in my head, I'm like, no bleep. But it was always cool. He would check on me in the locker room to make sure, because nobody can pout like me.
They'll say coach is tripping.
Yeah, believe me. Man.
Coach is tripping.
And I don't know what point I would have been willing to fight him, but it wasn't as a player. I was probably a little older.
Yeah.
So I would let him. You just don't want to fight guys like that. It's like, man, I'd have to fight that dude every day.
Yep.
Even if he took an L.
Yeah.
He's
coming back tomorrow.
Yep. And too much.
Like if he took a lunch? Is that an L?
Sure.
Left hand.
Shane, you had your one winner today. I wouldn't push your luck.
It was very good.
It was really good.
It's very good.
I just wouldn't push it,
When you dropped that joke earlier, you might as well have just said, "Be quiet."
Like I'm out.
Like you should have just said, "Man, DB, stop talking." That's pretty good, man.
It was good. It was pretty good.
Gotta keep watering the bamboo.
I still think you suck.
Let's take a quick break here. We'll come back, see if DB's got any winners for us. Hopefully tomorrow night, your Omaha Supernovas will be winners as they're back here in Omaha, CHI Health Center against the Grand Rapids Rise. Make sure you get to supernovas.com to get your tickets. They play Thursday and Saturday at home. Plenty of Supernovas to go around. Make sure you get out to CHI Health Center and get your tickets at supernovas.com. DB, let's pick some winners when we get back.
I will try.
Here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
We will be back. be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We're going to get some winners here in just a minute from DB. But
I don't know about that.
I got to ask you a question before we do that.
I would rather be in Colorado, not North Carolina.
I got to ask you a different question.
All right, what is it?
So Nico entered the portal with the do not contact tag, meaning he probably has his spot all situated.
It ain't worth fielding calls. He's going to do the dictating.
So where do you think he ends up? Is this a UCLA play?
I mean, sure, they can take him.
I'm having a hard time figuring out where the play is. I really am.
You know what we're missing?
What's that?
He has to, you have to take that guy in your locker room.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be his.
So
go ahead. It is his fault. He's old enough to know better.
No. I actually think that his dad could do him a huge favor here.
And take one publicly?
Take a bullet. Take the bullet. If he was looking out for his kid.
And he may be doing that behind the scenes to the next school.
With the programs.
Like, hey, Coach Foster.
Hey, this was on me.
That's on me.
Yeah.
This isn't what kind of person Nico is. I'd be willing to talk to the team. This guy just wants to play ball.
Yeah. I put him in a bad spot.
Do you feel that in your chicken bones?
That he would do that?
Yeah.
No, I do not. That seems unlikely.
So,
but it also seems unlikely that Deshaun Foster wants to take this on. He doesn't strike me as that guy.
Yeah, and they did do all that fundraising for their collective last year. That's the first thing everybody said Foster did.
Well,
he was so connected.
It was in a bad spot. But he doesn't strike me personality-wise as somebody wants to deal with nonsense.
So do you know what I really hope? And I hope this doesn't come back to bite me in the bunda.
What's
Well,
that?
Nebraska doesn't play UCLA this year, do they?
I don't believe so.
So you know how I feel about Nico.
Yeah, you think he's a little overrated.
Yeah, I think he's a lot overrated.
Fair. I was trying to be nice.
So, sure, take him.
They do play UCLA this year, November 8th.
Oh, that's right.
It's the SC UCLA.
Yep, I'm worried about. Yeah,
that's the one day you have a problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, whoa.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is, Ravi.
Just send me out there. I'll take care of it.
Fudge, that wouldn't be the one I would default to.
You're gonna give me Houston Christian?
I'm trying to get through Cincinnati. I need Omaha North to cooperate.
Come on, Coach Martin, help him out.
We will embrace it.
Shoot, man.
HBO.
Yeah, exactly. Don't you want to watch, the Terrys and the Donovan Jones? And
everybody does.
I mean, North's got to support their guys, too.
Everybody.
That's right. Darian just got that Nebraska offer.
Everybody.
Yeah, I know D-Rock ain't going to be at that game, and that's Coach Martin's boy. Daddy and Mom will be in KC watching Donovan.
Maybe starting.
Yeah. Now, again, so I asked, gosh, I can say this. So I'm talking to Caleb yesterday, and it's 5:15. I'm on my way to Zoe's practice. I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he said, "What did AJ say?" Oh, Austin's got it. See, that's the dude. That's the prime candidate for me getting Wally pipped. That guy.
Why do you think I don't miss any days?
I ain't giving you no reps, AJ. They may actually like you. And I was like, hey, what's going on? I was telling him, his taxes are done, this, that, and the other. And which was a whole nother nightmare because it's like royalties and 1099.
Oh, yeah. Those are the ones.
So anyway, he's like, hey, in the cold tank, this is getting ready to go get some treatment, and we're going to go eat. And somebody's chiming in the background. I'm like, who's that? And he goes, that's Donovan. He said, what's up? I'm like, weird. You guys think it's Steve. Like, it's like the same 5-6 guys.
Well, they've been boys forever, right?
Yeah. It's like the same 5-6 guys.
Yeah.
And I said, hey. I said, how's his competitive stamina? And Caleb's like, good, man. Like, really good. And I said, they're not just going to want to give him that job. Like, he's got to go out and compete. And Caleb goes, it's crazy. Because I get Donovan in the background. I was like, yeah, I got you. He's like, I got you, DB. And, he's a quiet kid.
Yeah.
And I said, that's going to be the key, right? Is as long you have to have, there's like this balance of them not wanting you out there and you telling them you're going to be out there. Whether it's really like that or not, you want to be the guy that they're uncomfortable that you're not out there. And he said, oh, he had a really good day. And I said, Caleb, I said, for a guy that hasn't always gotten your flowers, like I appreciate how you can, root other guys on. Because it would be easy to say, oh, man, you got your opportunity before I did.
Yeah, you got a little chip.
You started as a safety and they found a place for you to play. Like, it could be anything, right? And he goes, I was pulling into Westgate. Your boy almost teared up. He goes, it's just a lot easier if you've earned it and you want the same thing. And I was like, I need to be a better person. I need to be better because I'd be like, yeah, but no. I need to be out here playing.
I wouldn't think I need to be a better person. I'd be like, nah, I stay petty. Let's go.
But it's just cool to see those guys
yeah.
And they're what they're supposed to do. Hey, we got cold tank, then we got to go through our warm therapy. And I was like,
you know what it is though? It's the same thing you talk about with LP. You know why it's easier with Caleb?
Yeah, because he does love him.
Because he loves him.
Yeah,
right?
he does.
That's the differentiator there.
I don't.
You got any winners today? You got anything you love?
I'm not in love with a whole lot, Ravi.
I know you don't love the association.
No, like it has to like be smacking me dead in the face.
So we're not taking Kings Mavericks or
Heat
Bulls?
I do like the Heat though.
You like the Heatles?
I like the Heat. I wouldn't, I'm not gonna be like lock it up, but I would lean the Miami Heat in this one. I think they're the better coach team. I don't think it should be one. I think they should actually be favored.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would lean that way. If you want a nice early baseball play, I like the Minnesota Twins. Lock it up.
Brian Christopherson's the Minnesota Twins.
The walking wounded, no business being favored.
Mets haven't even named a starter yet.
I'll take the Twins.
Minus 120. There it is.
Yep.
That's DB. I'm Ravi. More Hurrdat Sports Live tomorrow.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.